You are 11 years old. You have a wand in your trunk that you have used twice. You have a cat or an owl or a toad, none of which you have ever lived with before. You have a letter telling you to push a trolley straight at a brick wall, and the man who handed you that letter rode a flying motorbike for the last leg of the trip. This is the first thing nobody warns you about. The wall. The wall on platform 9 3/4 is solid stone. You can knock on it. You can put your ear to it and hear nothing on the other side. The instruction is to walk briskly, then run, with a metal cart full of glass cauldrons and a living animal straight at it. If the magic fails, and it does fail, you do not pass through. You hit it. You hit it at full speed with a 400-pound trolley behind you. The wall has been there for 1,000 years. It has never moved. It will not move for you. Harry Potter and Ron Weasley, 2 years from now, will find this out. The barrier will simply refuse to open for them, and they will slam into it in front of horrified Muggle commuters. They survive because they are heroes in a book. You are not. You are a student. You have weak arms and a wobbly trolley, and your owl is screaming in its cage, and the people behind you are pushing. So you get through the wall. The first miracle of the day. The train is the next miracle. The Hogwarts Express is a scarlet steam engine of a kind nobody manufactures anymore, because the company that built it has been out of business since the reign of Queen Victoria. It runs from London to a remote loch in the Scottish Highlands, a trip that should take 12 hours by any modern standard, but takes only 8 because the train is enchanted. Enchanted how? By whom? With what maintenance schedule? Nobody can tell you. The conductor is an old wizard who has been doing the job for 40 years and learned the route by repetition. He has no engineer's certification. There is no signalling system. There are no fire suppression measures. The boiler is 160 years old. You sit down in a compartment with strangers. You will share this compartment for the entire afternoon. There are no adults checking on you. There is one trolley witch who comes through selling sweets, and a prefect or two who walks the corridor every couple of hours. Otherwise, your safety on this moving steel projectile is in the hands of children. If something goes wrong, if the train derails, if it catches fire, if it stops in a field 100 miles from anywhere, you and 10 other 11-year-olds are the rescue plan. Things will go wrong eventually. 2 years from now, the train will stop in the middle of nowhere because Dementors have boarded it. Dementors. Wraiths that suck the joy out of you, that can kill you by reaching into your chest and pulling the soul out through your mouth, riding a passenger train, looking for an escaped convict. They will not check IDs. They will move through the compartments, finding children, sucking the warmth out of every space they pass. A third-year boy, Harry Potter again, will pass out in his own seat and nearly die. The school's response will be to give him chocolate. You will be on that train. You will be a first year. You will not know what a Dementor is. You will not know what a Patronus is. You will not be able to make a Patronus. You will sit in your compartment in the dark, with the lights going out, and feel cold reach into your chest, and there will be no one to save you. That is your third year. It is also possible the train derails before that. It is also possible the train is attacked by Death Eaters, which will happen the year Harry is 17. It is also possible a curse is laid on the tracks. It is also possible you simply choke on a chocolate frog when nobody is watching, and the trolley witch finds your body 2 hours outside Hogsmeade. The trolley witch, incidentally, has been on that train for over a century. Look it up. She was old when Tom Riddle was on the train, and she still pushes the cart at the age of 150. What she is exactly has never been disclosed. You buy sweets from her. You smile at her, she smiles back. The train arrives at night. This is policy. They want it dramatic. They want the first years to see the castle by lamplight, see the lake, see the towers. They do not consider that you are 11 and have been traveling for 8 hours and are exhausted and hungry, and now they are putting you in a small wooden boat with 3 other children at night on a deep cold lake with no life jackets. You should pause here. You should sit with this. The Black Lake is 200 feet deep in places. The water temperature in September in the Scottish Highlands is around 45 degrees Fahrenheit. A grown adult untrained who falls into water that cold has roughly 15 minutes before hypothermia begins killing them, and they are unconscious in under an hour. You are not a grown adult. You are a child. You weigh maybe 70 pounds. You are wearing wool robes over your normal clothes, which means if you go in, the robes will soak up 40 pounds of water and pull you straight to the bottom. There is no boat crew. There are no flotation devices. The boats are wooden and old and have no motors. They glide across the lake because Hagrid told them to. Hagrid is the one in charge of this. He is the keeper of keys and grounds. He is also the only adult present. He is also half giant. He is also not a qualified swimmer, not a qualified boatman, not certified in child rescue, and is sitting in his own separate boat. He is fond of you. He genuinely is. But if a first-year boat tips, Hagrid is in a different boat, and your friends are 11, and the lake is dark, and the squid in the water is the size of a school bus. Yes, the squid. We will come back to the squid. You arrive. You are wet at the shoes, scared, in a stone hall that is freezing. A woman in green robes tells you in the next 10 minutes you will be sorted into one of 4 houses, which will determine your friends, your dormitory, your classes, your social standing, and your professional opportunities for the rest of your life. There is no appeal. There is no opt-out. The instrument of sorting is an old hat. The hat reads your mind. It will look at every fear and every secret and every memory you have in front of the entire school and announce a result. If it announces Slytherin, your peers will assume you are a future Death Eater. If it announces Hufflepuff, they will assume you are stupid. If it announces Gryffindor, they will assume you want to die in a war. If it announces Ravenclaw, they will assume you cannot make a friend. It does not matter what you wanted. It does not matter what your parents were. The hat decides. And the hat, for the record, was forged from the brain of Godric Gryffindor by, again, magic that nobody can explain or replicate. It has been working continuously for 1,000 years with no maintenance and no oversight. It may be biased. It may be senile. It may be possessed. It has never been audited. Welcome to Hogwarts. You have been at the school for 45 minutes. You have already nearly drowned, nearly been crushed by a brick wall, travelled in a vehicle with no safety standards, been read by a piece of sentient millinery, and you have not eaten dinner yet. Now we can talk about the castle. The castle is alive. That is not a metaphor. The castle is a 1,000-year-old structure that has been continuously inhabited and modified by magic, and over those 10 centuries, it has developed something close to awareness. The doors decide whether to open. The portraits gossip about you in real time. The corridors rearrange themselves. The staircases move while you are on them. That is the next thing nobody warns you about. The staircases. There are 142 staircases at Hogwarts. They go up, they go down, they spiral, they shift direction on Wednesdays, they go to a different floor on certain days of the week. They have steps that vanish if you forget which ones. They have steps that fold up like a slide if you put your foot wrong. The grand staircase, which is the main artery of the castle, swings between landings while students are climbing it. There is no railing on most of them. There is no safety net. There is no warning. You are on the moving staircase, the one between the 3rd and 5th floor, and it begins to swing, and you are halfway up, and the next landing it connects to is the 7th floor instead, and you have one foot on a step that is about to drop out from under you. There is no procedure. The procedure is that you guess, you jump for the landing, or you do not. If you do not, you fall 4 stories down a stone shaft to a marble floor. The official position of the school is that this builds character. Nobody talks about the body count, but think about it. A castle with 1,000 students, average lifespan 140 years at this point, including ghosts, multiplied by 10 centuries of operation, with staircases that move and steps that vanish, and you are telling me there have not been deaths. There have been deaths. There are ghosts in this castle. Some of them are very old. You will see a ghost in your first week, probably nearly headless Nick, who will introduce himself politely, who will inform you that he was almost beheaded in 1492, but the executioner used a blunt axe and made 45 strokes without finishing the job, leaving him in a state where his head dangles by half an inch of skin. He will tell you this conversationally. He will demonstrate by flopping his head over to one side. He is a friendly ghost. He is also the result of a botched execution who has been wandering the corridors for 500 years. The school considers him an amenity. You will also meet the Bloody Baron, who is covered in silver bloodstains, who killed himself with a knife after killing a woman he claimed to love, who is the only ghost the poltergeist is afraid of, and who patrols the dungeons at night. He is a ghost in good standing. He sits at the Slytherin table during feasts. The school considers him a tradition. You will meet Moaning Myrtle, the ghost of a 14-year-old girl who was murdered in the girls' lavatory and who still haunts the toilet stall where she died. She is your peer. She is what happens to students who die at Hogwarts. The school's response to this child's murder was to leave her where she was. They did not remove her remains. They did not exorcise her. They did not even close the bathroom. They put a sign on the door saying it was out of order, and over time the sign became permanent, and now nobody uses that toilet, and a dead teenager cries in it forever. And this is fine. This is how it works. This is the school you are at. So you go to your dormitory. The first thing you notice is the cold. Hogwarts has no central heating. There is no insulation. The walls are stone, 4 feet thick in places, and they hold the temperature of the season outside, in Scotland, in winter. The fires in the common rooms are lit by house elves, who you have not yet been told exist, and the fires go out at night. The dormitory windows are leaded glass that whistles when the wind comes in. The wind in the Highlands in December comes in often. There is no electric blanket. There is no double glazing. You wear 2 pairs of socks, and you huddle under a wool quilt that smells like the 1880s. You are now going to spend 10 months of your year sleeping in a tower. The Gryffindor Tower is at the 7th floor of the castle, accessible only through the moving staircase you just learned about, and a single portrait of a fat woman who has to be in a good mood to let you in. The Ravenclaw Tower is even higher, and the door has a brass eagle that asks you a riddle, and if you cannot solve the riddle, you stand in the corridor in your pajamas in the cold until somebody else comes along who can. There is no second entrance. There is no fire escape. If the tower catches fire while you are sleeping, you climb out the window or you die. The bed is a 4-poster with curtains, which would be cozy if the curtains did not also have a tradition of being part of pranks. Older students hex younger students in their sleep. There is no rule against this. There is no monitor in the dormitory. There is no resident assistant. There are no cameras. There is no nightlight. There is, if you are in Gryffindor, a boy named Fred Weasley who in your 2nd year will explode a toilet seat sent to him by his brother George, and that is a relatively gentle prank by the standards of this institution. People hex other people into stone, into ferrets, into mushrooms. Sometimes the hexes wear off. Sometimes they require Pomfrey to fix. Sometimes they do not wear off, and the hexed student becomes a story, the one in the back of the class who is half a giraffe now, the one whose nose was missing for 2 years. You go to sleep. You wake up at 6. You go downstairs for breakfast. Now you have to talk about the food. The food at Hogwarts is good, lavish even. The Great Hall fills 4 long tables with roast meats, breads, soups, stews, fruit, pastries, pumpkin juice, butterbeer for the older ones at certain hours. The food simply appears. You sit down, the platters are empty. You look up, the platters are full. Magic, wonderful. Except the food does not come from nowhere. It comes from the kitchens, which are directly beneath the Great Hall, and the kitchens are staffed by house elves. House elves are a sentient magical species who have been enslaved to wizarding families and institutions for centuries. They do not get paid. They do not get clothing. They cannot leave. They are bound by magic to obey their owners, and if they disobey, they are required by their own magic to punish themselves, which they do by ironing their hands or slamming their heads in oven doors. There are over 100 of them in the Hogwarts kitchens. Some of them have been there for generations. They prepare every meal you eat for 7 years, by hand, with no labor laws, no breaks, no sick leave, no medical care. They are happy to do it, because they were bred and conditioned over millennia to be happy to do it. You did not consent to be served by slave labor. Your parents did not tell you. The school did not tell you. You will eat 3 meals a day for 7 years prepared by enslaved magical beings. And the only student who will ever try to free them is Hermione Granger, and the staff will mock her efforts, and the elves themselves will hide from her because they do not want to be freed. Think about that one. Think about what it does to you, slowly, over 7 years, to be served by people you cannot see, who you know exist, who you know are not free, who you are encouraged not to think about. The school is teaching you something while you eat. It is teaching you that comfort comes from invisible suffering. It is teaching you that the right kind of person looks away. That is not even the worst of breakfast. The worst of breakfast is the owls. Hundreds of owls arrive every morning, swooping in through the upper windows, dropping letters and parcels on the tables, sometimes into the porridge. Owls are wild raptors. They have inch-long talons, hook-tipped beaks, and a wingspan up to 5 feet. They are also tired, having flown all night, and aggressive when crowded. Every morning, hundreds of these animals fly low over the heads of 1,000 students, sitting at long wooden tables, eating with metal utensils. Every morning there are near misses. Every so often, one of them strikes a student in the head. Last year, a girl in Hufflepuff caught a great grey owl in the face going after her bacon, and she lost 2 teeth and required 8 stitches. The school's response was that she should have ducked. You eat your toast. You watch your owl, if you have one, land on the table in front of you, hooting for treats. You feed it bacon. You do not think about how an institution that hands 11-year-olds wands and lets birds of prey dive-bomb their breakfast might not be operating to modern standards. You finish breakfast. You go to your first class. The list of first-year classes is short. Potions, herbology, charms, transfiguration, defense against the dark arts, astronomy, history of magic, and flying. 8 classes, 8 ways to die in your first month. Let us walk through them. Potions is in the dungeons. The dungeons are below the lake. The walls weep with damp. The classroom has 30 cauldrons set up on stone tables with open flames under each one, and you are 11, and you are going to brew things. Your first potion is the cure for boils, which requires powdered snake fang, stewed horned slugs, and dried nettles, processed in a specific order with a specific stirring pattern. You can ruin it by missing one step. The ruination, if you miss the wrong step, releases a vapor that boils the skin off your face. This is a real thing that happens. In Harry's first year, Neville Longbottom melts his cauldron because he adds porcupine quills before taking the pot off the fire, and the potion he produces causes boils to erupt over the bodies of every student in the classroom, including himself. Snape gives him a detention. Snape does not send him to the hospital wing. Snape continues teaching. There is no incident report. There is no review of safety procedures. The students with the boils on their arms simply take the potion that was supposed to cure boils, except the cauldron exploded, so they have to wait until the next batch is brewed, which is sometime next week, and in the meantime they have to walk around with their faces erupting in pus. The teacher is Severus Snape. We will come to Snape in his own section because he deserves it. For now, understand that Snape openly bullies students, particularly Gryffindors, particularly Harry Potter, particularly Hermione Granger, and the school knows this, and nobody intervenes. He has been doing this for over a decade. He is the head of Slytherin House. He is one of the most powerful Ucklemans alive. He is also a former Death Eater, although you do not know that, and he is also working as a double agent against Voldemort, which you also do not know, and his personal grief has hollowed him into something approximating cruelty, and he is in charge of your potions class 3 times a week, where you handle dangerous chemicals over open flames, and if you slip up, he will not help you. He will mock you and walk away. Across the corridor, you have herbology. Herbology is taught by Professor Sprout, who is one of the genuinely kind teachers at this school, and who runs Greenhouse 3, where they keep the dangerous plants. The first-year curriculum is mostly Greenhouse 1, which is safer. The second year you start touching mandrakes. Mandrakes are root vegetables that look like infant humans. They scream when they are pulled out of the soil, and the scream is fatal to adults of full strength, although merely incapacitating from immature plants. You wear earmuffs in class. The earmuffs are the kind they sell in hardware stores. They are not certified. If yours slip off your head, which they do because earmuffs slip off heads, you fall to the floor unconscious. Sometimes you do not get back up. The plant screams because it is being killed. The shrieking thing in your hands has the face of a baby. You are 11. You have been told to grip it firmly, turn the soil, and lift it out. Your earmuffs are slipping. The mandrake in your friend's hand is purple in the face from the volume of its own scream. You do the work. You repote it. You finish the period. You go to lunch. You will spend the next 2 days dreaming about the screams. The school does not consider this trauma. The school considers it Wednesday. Greenhouse 3 is where the older students go. Venomous Tentacula lives in Greenhouse 3. It is a plant. It has teeth. It bites. The bite is poisonous. There is also Devil's Snare, which constricts and suffocates anything warm-blooded that touches it. There is also Barbatuber, which has pus-filled boils on its stem that when popped, produce a yellow substance that burns through human skin on contact. The students harvest the pus by hand, wearing dragonhide gloves, which are not sold to or fitted for children, and so the gloves are too big, and a few drops sneak in at the wrist. And now you have a chemical burn on your forearm that you have to live with for a month, because Madame Pomfrey is busy with 3 Quidditch injuries, and a kid who was hexed into a centipede. Charms is taught by Professor Flitwick. Flitwick is part goblin, possibly. He is small, agreeable, knows his subject. The danger in Charms is not Flitwick. The danger is your classmates. Charms class involves children pointing wands at things and saying words. The words make the things do things. The things in first year are simple. Feathers should levitate. Pillows should jump. Curtains should turn purple. The problem is that wands are precise instruments held by clumsy hands, and a slight wand movement in the wrong direction does not produce no effect. It produces a different effect. Saying Wingardium Leviosa with a flick instead of a swish does not lift the feather. It might lift the feather, then drop it on fire. It might lift the boy next to you. It might lift the boy next to you on fire. Children miscast spells. Children get hurt. The teacher does his best. The teacher cannot watch 30 students at once. There is a story, never confirmed, that in 1971 a Charms class accidentally summoned something the textbooks did not list, and 3 students lost the ability to speak for the rest of the term. They graduated. They never recovered. They never sued, because there is no court system that handles magical malpractice. The Ministry of Magic does not regulate education the way Muggle governments do. Hogwarts is, in legal terms, autonomous. You signed up by accepting the letter. There is no insurance. There is no liability. Transfiguration is the next one. Transfiguration is the art of turning one thing into another thing. McGonagall teaches it. McGonagall is one of the great witches of the age, a true expert, a serious woman, and she runs her classroom with a discipline that is almost military. This is the safest class at Hogwarts. This is also the class where, in your 4th week, you will accidentally turn your matchstick partly into a needle, and your friend will accidentally turn his matchstick partly into a different friend, and McGonagall will spend the next half hour undoing it. The principle of transfiguration is that anything organic can be made into anything else organic, with sufficient willpower. The corollary is that anything organic can be made into anything else organic by accident. A poorly cast spell turns your hand into a flipper. A poorly cast spell turns your tongue into a parrot's beak. A poorly cast spell turns your nose inside out. McGonagall fixes most of these. Some she cannot fix. There is a student, 6th year now, who has a teacup for an ear and has had it since he was 13. He is mostly fine. He hears tea. He drinks tea constantly. He says it is not so bad. McGonagall has tried 4 times to reverse it. The teacup is part of him now. He will marry someday. Hopefully someone who likes Earl Grey, and his children will have teacups for ears, and that is just how it is. Defense against the dark arts is the most dangerous class in the school, not because the material is the most dangerous, although it is, because the teacher is. The defense against the dark arts position is cursed. This is not a rumor. The curse is real, well documented, and known to every staff member, every parent, and most of the older students. Voldemort, when he was Tom Riddle, applied for the job after he graduated and was refused by Dumbledore. He cursed the position. Since then, no defense teacher has lasted more than 1 academic year. None. For about 50 years now. They die. They get fired. They go mad. They are revealed as criminals. They get bitten by werewolves. They get possessed by Voldemort's larval consciousness in the back of their head. They are imposters held captive in a trunk while a Death Eater impersonates them. Every year. Every single year. In your first year, your defense teacher is Professor Quirrell. Quirrell is a stammering, nervous man who wears a turban. The turban smells of garlic. He claims it is to ward off vampires he met in Albania. The reason it smells of garlic is that Voldemort is living on the back of his head, under the turban, sharing his body. Quirrell will spend the entire school year trying to steal the Philosopher's Stone, which is stored in the castle, and he will be killed in May by Harry Potter when Harry touches him with his bare hand, and the protection Lily Potter left on Harry's skin turns Quirrell's skin to ash. This is your defense teacher. Next year, your defense teacher is Gilderoy Lockhart, a celebrity author who has fraudulently claimed credit for the achievements of dozens of other wizards, whom he obliviated to steal their stories. He cannot perform basic protective spells. He cannot teach. He releases Cornish pixies in the classroom and runs out the door to escape them, leaving 13-year-olds to handle wild magical creatures alone. At the end of the year, he tries to obliviate Harry and Ron. His wand misfires, and he obliviates himself. He is currently in St. Mungo's Hospital, indefinitely, with no memory of his own name. This is your defense teacher. Third year, your defense teacher is Remus Lupin. Lupin is competent, kind, and a werewolf. He has been a werewolf since childhood. Every month, on the full moon, he transforms into a giant slavering monster that wants to bite people. And the school's policy is to let him keep his job and give him a potion that keeps him calm during transformations, which works as long as someone remembers to brew it, which they do not always. And at one point during your year, there is a near miss where Lupin transforms in the grounds of the school within sight of where students are, including children who are out for a midnight walk for unrelated reasons. He resigns at the end of the year because parents would have lynched him. This is your defense teacher. Fourth year, your defense teacher is Mad-Eye Moody, who turns out to actually be a Death Eater named Barty Crouch Jr., who has spent the entire year impersonating Moody using Polyjuice Potion, while the real Mad-Eye Moody is locked in a magical trunk in his office, being kept alive only because his hair is needed to maintain the Polyjuice. Crouch teaches you spells. Crouch demonstrates the unforgivable curses on a spider in front of your class, including the Cruciatus, which is torture, and the Killing Curse, which kills. He is praised by students for being a good teacher. He is also a confirmed murderer who escaped Azkaban with help from his father and is now drugging your potion class friends to make them participate in an illegal kidnapping. This is your defense teacher. Fifth year is Dolores Umbridge. Umbridge is a ministry stooge sent to undermine Dumbledore. Her lessons consist of reading aloud from a textbook. She prohibits the practice of any actual defensive magic. She also runs a detention program in which students are required to write lines with a quill that carves the words into the back of their hand and uses their own blood as ink. The wound takes weeks to heal. The scar is permanent. She does this to Harry Potter for a full school term. The school does nothing. Dumbledore does nothing. The parents do not find out. The wound on Harry's hand reads, "I must not tell lies," and it is still there at age 40 in the epilogue. This is your defense teacher. Sixth year, your defense teacher is Severus Snape, the same man who has been making your potions life hell for 5 years. He is not a bad teacher, technically, and his classes are intense and useful, but he is also at this exact moment in the middle of a plan that will end with him murdering Albus Dumbledore on the Astronomy Tower at midnight, while you and other students are escaping a Death Eater invasion of the castle. This is your defense teacher. Seventh year, your defense teacher is Amicus Caro, a confirmed Death Eater appointed by the Voldemort-controlled ministry, who teaches the dark arts as a practical subject and uses students from Muggle families as live targets for the Cruciatus Curse. He tortures children for being insufficiently enthusiastic about pure blood ideology. This is your defense teacher. You have now had 7 defense teachers in 7 years. One was possessed by Voldemort. One was a fraud who obliviated himself. One was a werewolf. One was a Death Eater impersonating a real Auror who was being held captive in his own trunk. One ran a torture detention program. One was a murderer in waiting. One was an actual practicing Death Eater. The curse on the position is so thorough that the school continues hiring people anyway, and the students continue dying, getting hurt, getting psychologically damaged, year after year, and nobody at the ministry blinks, and nobody at the school holds a hearing, and nobody ever considers simply not having the class. You are in your first year. You sit at the back, you raise your hand, you ask Quirrell a question, he stammers. You go back to your dormitory, you sleep, you wake up, you eat, you go to astronomy. Astronomy is at midnight. You are 11. The class is at midnight. They make you climb the astronomy tower at midnight with a telescope, and you spend an hour mapping the stars over the castle. The tower is open at the top. There is no railing in many places. The wind comes off the lake, and it carries you sideways. You have lost 3 students in the last decade to the astronomy tower, and the school's official story is that they jumped. The unofficial story is that you do not climb a 600-foot stone tower in the dark with 11-year-olds and expect everyone to come down. It is also where Dumbledore will die in 6 years. He will be hit with the Killing Curse and fall backward off the tower onto the grounds below. You will not be there. You will be in your bed, but you will hear the impact. You will hear the screams. You will spend the next morning in shock with your classmates and the school will hold a memorial, and the term will end, and you will come back the next September as if a man had not been murdered in your sky. History of magic is taught by a ghost. Professor Binns died decades ago in a chair in the staff room and got up to go to his class without realizing he was dead, and has been teaching ever since. He does not notice students. He does not respond to questions. He drones in the same voice every lesson, a voice with no warmth and no body behind it, about goblin rebellions and witch burnings and the founding statutes of the ministry. Students sleep through it. The teacher does not notice. There is no other history of magic teacher. There has not been a living one since the war that took half the wizarding population. The ghost does not know what year it is. The ghost has been teaching the same goblin rebellion for over 50 years. The school still requires you to sit in the class. The school still gives you OW, exams based on the material. The exam is the only time you discover that your teacher has been wrong about a date for the past 4 decades, because nobody has corrected him, because nobody listens to him, because he is dead. Flying lessons are last, but they should be first, because they are the worst. Madam Hooch teaches them in the grounds. She is competent, an experienced flyer, a referee, a coach. She has 50 children to manage. Each child has a broomstick. The brooms are old, miscellaneous models, mostly plane sweeps from the 1960s, in poor repair. Some of them buck, some of them shudder, some of them lift off prematurely. The brooms know more about you than you know about them. The lesson is, command the broom to rise, mount it, kick off, hover for a few seconds, descend. In Harry's first year, on the first day of flying lessons, a boy named Neville Longbottom panics. The broom lifts him 15 feet into the air against his will, dumps him on the lawn, breaks his wrist. Madam Hooch takes him to the hospital wing. While she is gone, the rest of the class continues to play with their unstable flying weapons unsupervised. Draco Malfoy steals Neville's Remembrall and throws it. Harry pursues it 50 feet up, on a broom he has never flown before, in a maneuver no 11-year-old should attempt, and catches the Remembrall by inches before it hits a stone wall. This is considered triumph. Harry is rewarded by being placed on the house Quidditch team, which is a contact sport played by adolescents on broomsticks at speeds of up to 150 miles an hour, with iron balls flying at their faces. But back to flying lessons. The school's policy is that every first year must have one. The school's policy after Neville is that perhaps they should be supervised more closely. The school's policy 2 years later is that perhaps brooms should be better maintained. The school's policy 4 years later is that perhaps brooms should be replaced. The school never quite gets around to any of these. The brooms stay old, the supervision stays thin, the first years keep falling, most of them keep landing on grass, most of them keep walking away, but not all of them, and every so often there is a kid who hits the wall, and every so often a kid hits the lake, and every so often a kid gets caught in the Whomping Willow and is found 3 days later, and the records of all of this are kept by Filch, and Filch keeps the records in his office, and his office is full of cases with confiscated items going back a century, and a tally of student injuries written in a hand so cramped you cannot read it. You have now completed your first week of classes. You have brewed something explosive. You have decapitated a screaming root. You have miscast a charm and turned your friend slightly blue. You have transfigured a matchstick into a needle, and the needle into half a needle and half a matchstick. You have watched a possessed man stammer through a lesson on hags. You have stared into a telescope while the wind tried to push you off a tower. You have slept through a ghost. You have fallen off a broom. It is Saturday. On Saturdays you have the grounds. The grounds are where the real danger lives. The grounds of Hogwarts cover several hundred acres. They include the Black Lake, the Forbidden Forest, the Quidditch pitch, the greenhouses, Hagrid's hut, the herb gardens, an apiary, several stone bridges, a viaduct over a chasm, a wooden bridge over the chasm, a stone circle of unknown purpose, a graveyard whose stones are too old to read, and the marsh near the southern edge that students are warned not to walk through without telling someone first. Let us start with the forest. The Forbidden Forest is forbidden. That is its name. The school did not have to make the name explicit. They could have called it the Hogwarts Woods. They could have called it the Southwood. They chose to call it the Forbidden Forest because the alternative would have been calling it what it is, which is something more honest like the Death Place or the Murder Trees. In the Forbidden Forest live, as a partial inventory, an entire herd of centaurs who hate humans and who are at war with the school over the territory, although the war is on hold. A colony of giant spiders descended from Hagrid's pet Aragog, which is a 15-foot-tall acromantula with thousands of children, all of whom are also 15 feet tall and venomous. A herd of thestrals, the skeletal winged horses, visible only to those who have seen death. A unicorn herd, whose blood has been seen to extend life at the cost of cursing the drinker. Trolls, werewolves passing through, the occasional dementor, a sphinx in the deeper parts, and several creatures that have never been catalogued and that no care of magical creatures professor has been willing to investigate. The forest is also where Hagrid takes detentions. If you are in detention and Hagrid is the one assigning the punishment, you will be sent into the Forbidden Forest at night with a lamp to look for whatever Hagrid is concerned about that month. This is policy. This is the school's official policy, communicated to you in writing on a slip of parchment. Detention in the Forbidden Forest at night. 11-year-old, accompanied by Hagrid, often unaccompanied. In Harry's first year, he and 3 classmates are sent into the forest in their first month, in the dark, with a lamp, to find a wounded unicorn. They find the unicorn. They also find Voldemort drinking its blood from its still-living body. Harry, 11, comes face to face with the worst dark wizard of the century in the middle of the woods at night. This happens. This is the punishment for being caught out of bed past curfew. The school does this. The school continues to do this for the next 7 years, and likely for the next 700 years. The Black Lake is the next item. The Black Lake is 200 feet deep at the center. It is home to the giant squid you may remember from the boat trip. The giant squid is friendly. The giant squid is not the problem. The problem is everything else in the lake. There are grindylows, small water demons with green skin and long fingers, who grab swimmers and drag them under. There is a merpeople village at the bottom of the lake, with a culture and a language that is screeching above the water, but a song below it. The merpeople do not particularly like humans. They tolerate the school's presence. They have a treaty. The treaty does not protect students who fall in. In Harry's 4th year, during the Triwizard Tournament, 4 students are placed underwater in the lake, frozen in stasis, for an hour, while champions race to save them. The school does this. The school takes 4 real students and freezes them with magic at the bottom of a lake of grindylows for a televised sporting event. If a champion does not arrive in time, the policy was, presumably, that the student would die. If the champion failed to save them, the merpeople were supposed to take them. The headmaster signed off on this. The ministry signed off on this. The parents were not consulted. The Whomping Willow stands by the lake. The Whomping Willow is a tree. The tree is sentient. The tree is aggressive. The tree will attack and kill any creature that comes within its branch range. It is a single specimen tree that should have a fence around it. It does not have a fence. It is in the middle of a walking path. A student in your year, 2nd year, runs into it with a flying car and survives only because the bones break in such a way that they can be regrown overnight. The car is destroyed. The car was alive, sort of, with a Muggle-style enchantment, and after being beaten apart by the tree, it flees into the Forbidden Forest and is never seen again by humans. The tree is there. The tree continues to be there. Nobody plants a hedge around it. Nobody puts up a sign. Nobody removes the tree. The tree is in fact a critical part of an underground passage that leads to a building in Hogsmeade called the Shrieking Shack, where a young werewolf used to be locked up during full moons, and that is why the tree is there. It has a job. The job is to attack anyone who tries to use the passage. The job, also, is to remain a constant threat to any student who walks within its swing radius, which it does for 50 years before Harry arrives, and will continue to do for 50 after he leaves. Greenhouse 3 you have already heard about. Hagrid's hut is at the edge of the forest, and Hagrid keeps things in his hut that should not be kept anywhere. In your 1st year, he is hatching a dragon egg in his fireplace. He names the dragon Norbert. The dragon is a Norwegian ridgeback, which is an extremely dangerous breed, illegal to own, and capable of breathing fire from infancy. Hagrid raises Norbert in his wooden hut. Norbert sets things on fire several times. Hagrid is bitten on the hand. The dragon grows. The dragon is eventually smuggled out to Romania by Charlie Weasley and his colleagues in the Dragon Reserve. But the entire month, Norbert lives in the hut. The hut is a fire hazard, and the hut is on a wooden floor, 50 yards from a forest of oak and pine, and nobody at the school does anything about it. Hagrid is the keeper of keys. Hagrid keeps a dragon in his hut. The keeper of keys keeps a dragon in his hut, 300 yards from your bedroom. He has also kept, at various other times, an acromantula which became Aragog, a three-headed dog the size of a horse, named Fluffy, multiple blast-ended scroots, a creature he bred himself by crossing 2 illegal species, which kill 3 students in the field testing phase, a hippogriff, which is a creature with the body of a horse and the head and wings of a giant eagle, which is dangerous to anyone who does not bow correctly, Thestrals, a giant who is his half-brother and weighs about a ton, and several specimens that nobody has identified or asked about. This is the man who teaches care of magical creatures, starting in your 3rd year. The first day of his class, he hands you a textbook called The Monster Book of Monsters, which is bound in fur and has teeth and will attack you if you do not know to stroke the spine. Several students lose fingers. The textbook is, year after year, recommended by the school. They never change the assignment. The first creature you study in Hagrid's class is the hippogriff. Hagrid demonstrates how to approach it. A student named Draco Malfoy, who is 12, fails to bow correctly, insults the hippogriff to its face, and is slashed across the chest by the animal's talons. He bleeds. He whines. He goes to the hospital wing. He recovers. The school's response is to put the hippogriff on trial and order it executed. The school has, as a matter of administrative procedure, an execution policy for its livestock. The executioner is sent in from the ministry. He brings an axe. They schedule the execution for a Saturday afternoon in a field behind Hagrid's hut, which can be seen from the windows of the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom. Children watch their classes from windows while a magical creature is beheaded in the field. The school sees no issue with this. The hippogriff is saved by time travel, which is a separate thing we will get to. Care of magical creatures, just in your 3rd year, will also expose you to nifflers, which steal anything shiny including your fillings. Flobberworms, which are mostly harmless but which Hagrid lets you handle with bare hands while they ooze. Hippogriffs, as already mentioned, and the blast-ended scroots, which look like giant scorpions on fire and which sting and explode at the same time. 3 students are hospitalized by scroots. One of them ends up with a missing eyebrow that never grows back. Hagrid is teaching the class for free because he loves the animals. He is not qualified. He never took any WTs. He was expelled from Hogwarts in his 3rd year, although he was kept on as keeper of keys, and he is now teaching a class. The headmaster is fond of him. The headmaster is fond of many people. The headmaster's affection is, in this school, a substitute for credentials. You are not safe in the grounds. You are not safe in the castle. You are not safe in your dormitory. You are not safe in the dungeons or the towers or the corridors or the bathrooms. You are barely safe in your own bed. Where are you safe? The honest answer is, you are not. You are at Hogwarts. You have been at this school for about 2 weeks. You have not yet been hurt. You should consider this remarkable. The average 11-year-old at Hogwarts in modern times sustains some kind of magical or physical injury in their first month, and you have managed to dodge it. Maybe you are quiet. Maybe you sit at the back. Maybe you have older siblings who taught you not to volunteer for things. It is at about this point that you discover the school's medical infrastructure. The medical infrastructure is one woman. Her name is Madame Poppy Pomfrey. She is the matron of the hospital wing. She has a small staff, depending on the year, of perhaps 1 assistant. She is responsible for the health of 1,000 students. The hospital wing has perhaps 20 beds. The pharmacy is a single locked cupboard. There is no surgeon. There is no doctor in the Muggle sense. There is no ambulance. There is no emergency transport to a wider medical facility, because the wider medical facility is St Mungo's in London, and getting there from the Scottish Highlands by magical means takes preparation, and getting there by Muggle means takes hours. Pomfrey is a competent matron. She is a master of basic remedies and minor curses. She can regrow bones, which she does using a potion called Skelligrow, which causes excruciating pain over an entire night while the new bones grow back. The pain is described, by those who have endured it, as worse than the breaking itself. She can mend skin and fix concussions. She can clear up minor curses. She knows enough about poison to treat most of the things you might eat in the Forbidden Forest by accident. What she cannot do is surgery. What she cannot do is anything beyond about 8 specific magical remedies. What she cannot do is provide ongoing care to a student with a chronic condition. What she cannot do is identify or treat anything she has not seen before. What she cannot do is be in 2 places at once. In your second year, 50 students are petrified by the basilisk in the Chamber of Secrets. Petrified means turned to stone. They are alive but frozen, and they will remain frozen until a mature mandrake can be brewed into a restorative potion, which takes most of an academic year. The 50 students lie in their beds in the hospital wing for months, eyes open, unmoving, unable to eat, unable to drink, unable to be reached. Their families cannot visit, because the official position of the school is that nothing is wrong. Their bodies are kept alive by magic. Their minds are aware. They cannot speak. They cannot blink. They lie there. Pomfrey nurses 50 petrified children for the better part of a year. She also handles the rest of the school's injuries. She also handles the Quidditch wounds. She also handles the curses the students throw at each other. Her staff is 1 person. She does not sleep. By February, the school sees her wandering the corridors at 3 in the morning, muttering to herself. She does not crack. The infrastructure does not crack. The infrastructure was never built well enough to crack. It was held together by 1 woman's competence and 1 cupboard of supplies. When you arrive at the hospital wing with a problem, you wait. Sometimes you wait for hours. Sometimes you bleed in the corridor outside because there are no chairs. Pomfrey works through the list. She prioritizes by triage in her head, which is the only triage system the school has. If you are dying, she sees you first. If you are not dying, you wait. If you are bleeding but conscious, you wait. If you are screaming, you wait. Although you will probably get her sooner because the screaming bothers the petrified children whose minds, again, are present. You are also, while you are at school, under no circumstances allowed to visit a Muggle doctor. The statute of secrecy forbids it. If you break your arm at Hogwarts and Pomfrey is busy, you can wait. Or you can ask a friend to take you home for the weekend, in which case your parents have to invent a story about how you broke your arm in their care, because the alternative is admitting their child attends a school where injuries happen so often that 1 woman in the Highlands cannot keep up. There is a side note worth mentioning here. The hospital wing has a room behind the main ward called the long-term care room. It is small. It contains 4 beds. The beds have been continuously occupied for several decades by students who were injured in ways the matron could not fix, who could not be sent to St. Mungo's because the families could not afford the care, who could not return to their dormitories because they cannot care for themselves, and whose families have not come to claim them. Nobody talks about the long-term care room. Pomfrey checks on them once a day. They are 17, 20, 30 years old. They sit up. They eat broth. They do not speak. Sometimes a relative visits at Christmas. The school keeps them on as charity cases. The school has been keeping students on as charity cases since Helga Hufflepuff established the practice in the 11th century, and the school is proud of this, although it does not advertise. You will see one of them in your 6th year if you wander to that part of the castle by accident. You will see a man in his 40s, sitting on a bed in his pajamas, scratching at his arm where his skin has been replaced by something that looks like bark. He will look at you. He will not blink. You will leave quickly and never go back. You will not tell anyone. The story will sit inside you for the rest of your life. You are now thinking about Quidditch. Quidditch is the school's main sport. It is also the most dangerous activity at Hogwarts that is officially sponsored. Each house has a team. Each team has 7 players. The players ride broomsticks. The broomsticks fly at heights of up to 200 feet above the pitch. The brooms can reach speeds of 160 miles per hour. There are 4 balls in play. 1 is the quaffle, which is thrown between players. 2 are bludgers, which are iron cord cannonballs enchanted to fly around the pitch and attack the nearest player. The 4th is the snitch, a tiny golden flying ball that the seekers chase. Take a moment with the bludgers. They are iron cord. They are enchanted to attack. They weigh approximately 10 pounds. They travel at speeds of around 80 miles an hour. They aim for heads. The job of the beaters, 2 per team, is to swat them away with small wooden bats. If a beater misses, the bludger hits a player. The player, on a broom at 150 feet, gets struck in the helmet, or the chest, or the arm. The player might fall. This happens. This happens often. In Harry's 2nd year, a rogue bludger, tampered with by Dobby the house elf for reasons that are tangentially related to Harry's safety, pursues Harry through an entire match, breaking his arm on impact. Harry continues to play with a broken arm. He catches the snitch. He returns to the changing room with his arm hanging at the wrong angle. Gilderoy Lockhart, the fraudulent defense teacher, attempts to mend the bone and instead removes all the bones in Harry's arm entirely. Harry's arm becomes a rubbery sleeve. He goes to Pomfrey, who regrows the bones overnight, with Skelegro, with the screaming pain we have already mentioned. The school's response to a bludger nearly killing Harry is not to investigate. The school's response is to let him play the next match. In another year, a player named Cormac McLagan hits one of his own teammates in the face with a beater's bat. The teammate is Harry. Harry hits the ground at high speed. He cracks his skull. He spends 3 days in the hospital wing. The school's response is to keep Cormac on the substitute list for next year. In another year, Harry falls from a broom because of Dementors at the edge of the pitch. He falls from 100 feet. He survives because Dumbledore casts a slowing charm at the last second. If Dumbledore had been blinking or distracted or absent that day, Harry would have died. The school's response is to put Dementors a little further from the pitch next time. The brooms themselves are not maintained by professionals. Each team is responsible for their own equipment. The brooms get banged up. The brooms get jinxed. In Harry's first year, his Nimbus 2000 is jinxed during a match by Quirrell and Voldemort, who is trying to throw Harry off in mid-air. The jinx makes the broom buck so hard that Harry hangs from it by one hand, 200 feet up, for several minutes, while Hermione frantically tries to identify which professor in the stands is jinxing him so she can break their concentration. She succeeds. Harry survives. The next match, his broom is fine. There is no safety inspector. There is no league commissioner. There is no insurance. There is also no helmet protocol. Players wear robes. Players wear arm guards if they have them. Some seekers wear nothing on their heads. Some keepers wear leather caps. The padding has not been updated since the 1820s. The pitch surface is grass, which is forgiving when wet and unforgiving when dry. The hoops are 50 feet in the air. If you fall during a play, you fall on grass. If you fall during winter practice, you fall on frost-hardened ground that has the give of concrete. People die playing Quidditch. They do not die often. They die occasionally. Hogwarts has, on record, lost one student to Quidditch every 20 years or so for the last several centuries. The names are in a book in the trophy room. The trophy room is large. The book is thick. The school considers this part of the tradition. You may not play Quidditch. Many students do not. You may simply attend the matches and cheer. The matches happen in all weather, including blizzards. The stadium is open air. The stands are not heated. You sit in the stands for 2 hours in February in Scottish weather, wearing whatever robes you brought from home, while 7 of your classmates kill each other in the sky, and then you go in for tea. Hogsmeade is a related issue. From your 3rd year on, you may visit Hogsmeade on certain weekends. Hogsmeade is the only all-wizarding village in Britain. It contains Honeydukes, the sweet shop, and Zonko's, the joke shop, and Madame Puddifoot's tea shop, and the Three Broomsticks pub, and the Hog's Head pub, and a few other establishments. To get there, you walk down a path from the castle, about a mile. You sign a permission slip. Your guardian signs it. You then walk, on foot, in a group of other students, down a public road to a village which contains adults who are buying drinks, gambling, conducting dark business in the back room of the Hog's Head, and occasionally drinking with known criminals. There are no chaperones. There are no checkpoints. There is sometimes a passing teacher. There is often nobody. The Hog's Head in particular is run by a man named Aberforth Dumbledore, who is the brother of the headmaster. The Hog's Head does not enforce age restrictions. The Hog's Head is where Quirrell, the Voldemort-possessed teacher, meets with Sirius Black, the supposedly escaped murderer, where Mundungus Fletcher conducts black market sales, and where the Inquisitorial Squad would later look for resistance members. It is a pub. The school sends children to this pub. There is one weekend in your 3rd year where Sirius Black, escaped from Azkaban, is at large in the country and rumoured to be hunting Harry Potter, and Hogsmeade weekends are not cancelled. The Dementors of Azkaban are stationed at the edges of the school grounds. The Dementors are stationed there to catch Black. The Dementors are deployed within walking distance of children. The school's response, when one of those Dementors strays onto the pitch during a Quidditch match and Harry falls from his broom, is to discipline the Dementor and continue the policy. You can see the picture. The picture is that the people in charge of you, at this school, have priorities that are not always you. Let us talk about Filch. Argus Filch is the caretaker. He is in his 60s. He is a squib, which means he was born to a wizarding family but has no magical ability of his own. He is bitter about this. He is bitter about the students. He is bitter about the castle. He is bitter about everything. He patrols the corridors at night with a lamp. He looks for students out of bed. When he catches them, he wants to bring back the old punishments, which according to him used to involve being hung from the dungeon ceiling by your thumbs. He says this often. He says it in the corridors when he is angry. He says it to children in pajamas who took a wrong turn looking for the bathroom. Filch is allowed to hand out detentions. Filch is allowed to assign tasks. Filch is allowed to confiscate items. Filch is allowed to assist in punishments. Filch has a cat, Mrs. Norris, who is somehow magical enough to spy for him without being magical herself. Filch and Mrs. Norris know every passage. They know the timing of every patrol. They keep records, again, in a hand you cannot read. They have been working at this school for 40 years. Nobody has ever once considered firing them. Nobody has ever asked why a man who hates children works in a school full of children. His office contains the records of every disciplinary action taken against a student in modern memory. Some of those records describe punishments that would not be legal under any modern code. Hanging by the thumbs was in fact a punishment used at Hogwarts as recently as the early 20th century. There is documentation. The documentation has not been destroyed. The school's policy on cruel and unusual punishment is that they retired most of them, although Filch maintains the equipment in a closet in case the policy changes. Mrs. Norris, the cat, is part of the regime. Mrs. Norris sees you in the corridor. Mrs. Norris reports to Filch. Filch finds you. Filch does not need to catch you in the act. Filch only needs Mrs. Norris to have witnessed it. The cat's testimony is treated as evidence. The school accepts this. The school does not require that students caught be presented with corroborating witnesses. Filch's word, plus the cat's word, is enough. He shows up at your dormitory with the cat under his arm and a slip of parchment, and you have detention next weekend, and you do not know what for, and there is no appeal. Detentions vary in unpleasantness. You may be asked to polish the trophies in the trophy room. You may be asked to clean the bedpans in the hospital wing. You may be asked to write lines, which we have discussed in the context of Umbridge, but which existed before Umbridge as merely tedious. You may be asked to assist Hagrid, which means again, the Forbidden Forest at night. You may be asked to sort the curse cabinet in Filch's office, which is full of confiscated cursed objects that bite. You may be asked to scrub the trophy room without magic, on your knees, with a sponge and a bucket, for 4 hours. The trophy room sponge and bucket detention is famous. The trophies date back 1,000 years. There are thousands of them. They sit in glass cases and on stands. The cases have not been cleaned in some time. The dust contains traces of every spell that has ever been cast in the room, including a few residual jinxes from the 1880s. Sometimes the dust gets into your eyes, and you see things. The things are blurry. The things are people from a long time ago. The things might be the people who won the trophies, briefly resurrected by the residue of their own glory. You blink, they are gone. The next day you ask a friend if dust can do that. The friend says yes, of course, this is Hogwarts. Peeves is the next item. Peeves is a poltergeist. He has lived in the castle since at least the Founder's era, and probably longer. Nobody is sure where he came from. He is not a ghost. He has no body, has never had a body, was not a person. He is a free-floating spirit of mischief, very powerful in his own narrow way, capable of moving objects, of producing illusions, of throwing chalk at first years from above, of unscrewing chandeliers, of writing rude messages on walls, of releasing tarantulas into the entrance hall during the morning rush. The school cannot get rid of him. Dumbledore has tried. The Founders apparently tried and gave up. Peeves does not respect any authority figure, except, for unclear reasons, the Bloody Baron, who can occasionally browbeat him into stopping. Otherwise, Peeves does what he wants. He is part of the institution in the way that mildew is part of an old house. He is everywhere. He is unpredictable. He is, on a good day, irritating, and on a bad day, dangerous. Peeves has dropped a suit of armor on a student. The student survived. Peeves has rigged a doorway so that anyone walking through it gets a bucket of cold water on their head, which froze in winter and caused frostbite to a boy in your second year. Peeves has run shrieking down the corridors at 3 in the morning, waking everyone up. Peeves has hidden the headmaster's office. Peeves once stuffed every keyhole in the castle with chewing gum during exam week, leaving the school unable to lock anything for 2 days. The school cannot stop him. The school treats him like weather. You will have to learn to dodge him. There is no recourse. There is no complaint form. There is no Peeves Affairs office. If Peeves picks on you, he picks on you, and you can hope he gets bored. Sometimes he picks a target and works on them for weeks. Sometimes that target is the youngest student in a year. Sometimes that target is you. You are now thinking about the corridor on the 3rd floor. In your first year, the headmaster, Albus Dumbledore, makes an announcement at the welcome feast. He tells the assembled students that the 3rd floor corridor on the right-hand side is out of bounds to anyone who does not wish to die a very painful death. This is the welcome speech. You are 11. You have just arrived. You are eating treacle tart. The headmaster has told you, in the same announcement that included Quidditch tryouts and the policy on magic in the corridors between classes, that one of the floors of your school contains something that will painfully kill you. He has not told you what. He has not told you why. He has not told you why it is in the school in the first place. He has told you to stay out. The thing in the corridor is, in fact, a 3-headed dog the size of a small lorry, named Fluffy, belonging to Hagrid, on loan to Dumbledore to guard a trap door leading to a chamber containing a series of magical obstacles designed to protect the Philosopher's Stone, the alchemical substance that grants immortality. The stone is being kept at Hogwarts because Dumbledore believes the castle is safer than Gringotts, the wizarding bank. The stone belongs to Nicholas Flamel, a 600-year-old alchemist who is a personal friend of Dumbledore's. To put this in plain terms, the headmaster of a school has placed in the middle of an active institution full of children a magical object that is being hunted by the most dangerous dark wizard in modern history, behind a series of obstacles, including a giant 3-headed dog, which is in a corridor that he has told the children to stay out of, knowing full well that telling children to stay out of something is a guarantee that some children will go in. 3 first years go in. Their names are Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, and Hermione Granger. They get past Fluffy. They get past the Devil's Snare in the next chamber. They get past the Room of Flying Keys. They get past the giant chess set, where one of them, Ron, is concussed by a chess piece while playing a life-size game with Hermione and Harry. They get past the troll, which is already unconscious because Quirrell knocked it out earlier. They drink the right potion in the Room of Fire. Harry confronts Quirrell and Voldemort in the final chamber. Harry kills Quirrell, indirectly, by touching him with skin protected by his mother's love. Voldemort flees as a wraith. This is a real series of events involving 11-year-olds. Dumbledore allows it. Dumbledore is fully aware that the children are attempting to access the stone, and rather than stopping them, he allows them to attempt it, because he has, in advance, calculated that it will be a useful test for Harry. Dumbledore is grooming Harry from age 11 to die in the war against Voldemort. The Stone Gauntlet is a training exercise. Dumbledore allows his 11-year-old student, plus 2 friends, to attempt a series of life-threatening magical obstacles, in the dark, alone, against a possessed adult wizard, because it is part of the long plan. You are not Harry. You are some other first year. You do not know any of this. You only know that the headmaster has told you not to go in that corridor. Most of the year, the corridor is locked. Sometimes the lock is loose. Sometimes the door is open. Sometimes when you walk past it on your way back from a class, you can hear something breathing behind the door. Something deep. Something with lungs the size of barrels. You speed up. You do not look back. You make it through the year. But the corridor was the warning sign. The corridor told you what kind of school this is. The corridor told you that the adults in charge of your safety consider you an instrument in a larger story. You are not the point. The point is the wider war. The point is the future. The point is whatever Dumbledore is doing in his office, which you will never know, and which involves things he considers larger than your individual life. You are 11. You are small. You are a piece on a board. Your safety is not the priority. Your second year, the Chamber of Secrets opens. The Chamber of Secrets is a real chamber, built by Salazar Slytherin 1,000 years ago, hidden somewhere in the castle, and accessible only by a Parselmath, which is a wizard who can speak the language of snakes. The chamber contains a basilisk. A basilisk is a giant snake whose direct gaze kills you instantly, and whose indirect gaze, through a reflection or a camera, petrifies you. The basilisk is 60 feet long. It is in the pipes. It has been in the pipes for 1,000 years, sleeping, fed on rats, waiting for the heir of Slytherin to wake it. In your second year, the heir wakes it. The heir is Tom Riddle, age 16, communicating through a diary he gave to a first-year girl named Ginny Weasley, 50 years after he attended the school. The diary possesses Ginny. The possessed Ginny opens the chamber. The basilisk slithers through the plumbing, attacking students in the corridors, petrifying half of them, killing none of them by luck only. The first victim is Mrs. Norris, the caretaker's cat. She is found hanging by her tail from a torch bracket, petrified, with a message written in blood on the wall behind her. The message is "The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the heir, beware." The school's response is to clean up the blood and continue classes. The second victim is a first-year girl from Hufflepuff named Colin Creevey. He is petrified by the basilisk's gaze, reflected in his camera lens. He is laid in the hospital wing. The school's response is to send Justin Finch Fletchley, another first year, to a private dueling lesson with Gilderoy Lockhart, because, well, the year must go on. The third victim is Justin Finch Fletchley himself, petrified through the ghost of nearly headless Nick, who was nearby and conducted the gaze. The fourth and fifth are Hermione Granger and Penelope Clearwater. The sixth is Ginny Weasley herself, who is dragged into the chamber by her own possessed body. The school's response, after months of attacks, is to consider closing. Months of attacks with no progress. The auras have not been called. The Minister of Magic has not been informed in time. The Board of Governors panics and dismisses Dumbledore briefly, by which point 5 students have been petrified and 1 has been kidnapped. The school is held together during this time by McGonagall, who does her best. Harry Potter, age 12, and Ron Weasley, age 12, go into the Chamber of Secrets themselves, with the deranged Gilderoy Lockhart at wand point, who backfires Ron's wand and obliterates his own memory. Harry, age 12, fights a 60-foot basilisk, alone with the sorting hat, and a sword that materializes inside the hat. He is bitten in the arm by a fang containing venom that kills in an hour. He pulls the fang from his arm and stabs the diary with it, destroying the Horcrux inside, which kills Voldemort's youngest soul fragment. Fawkes the Phoenix arrives to heal Harry's wound with Phoenix tears. This happens. This is the second year of Hogwarts. A child fights a 60-foot snake in a buried chamber and survives because of a magical bird. The school's response, the next morning, is to hold a celebratory feast where they award everyone 400 extra house points and explain that exams are cancelled. Hermione, in her petrified state in a hospital bed, comes back to consciousness later that week. So do the others. So does Mrs. Norris. The student body returns to normal. The next September, students arrive at the castle and the basilisk is dead in the chamber under the school. The chamber is sealed back up. The school does not remove the corpse. The school does not check the pipes. The school does not warn students. The school resumes operations. In your second year, the school continued operating through a series of attacks where students were turned to stone by a 60-foot snake in the walls. The school continued operating. What does this tell you, if you are paying attention? It tells you that the people running this institution have an extraordinary capacity for tolerating risk on behalf of children who did not consent. It tells you that Dumbledore, the great wizard, believes the school must continue no matter what happens inside it. It tells you that the bureaucracy of magical Britain is so weak that no outside force can compel the school to close. It tells you that you, the student, are responsible for your own safety. Nobody else is. Nobody else has ever been. By your third year, you have absorbed this. You walk through corridors with one eye on the shadows. You do not investigate strange noises. You do not open doors you have not opened before. You stick to the main paths. You take the same routes to your classes. You do not, under any circumstances, go to the 7th floor. The 7th floor, by the way, contains the Room of Requirement. The Room of Requirement is a room that becomes whatever the person walking past it needs. It has been used historically to hide bodies. It has been used to hide stolen goods. It has been used by students who needed a place to make out. It has been used by the Death Eater forces under Voldemort's regime to store a vanishing cabinet. paired with another cabinet in Nocturne Alley, which allows Death Eaters to teleport directly into Hogwarts. This is how the castle falls in your 6th year. Draco Malfoy fixes the cabinet over the course of the year, unobserved by anyone, in the Room of Requirement, and on a chosen night, Death Eaters step out of the cabinet into the 7th floor corridor, walk through the castle, and kill Dumbledore. This is your school. The architecture itself is a weapon. There is a room that becomes whatever you need, and what someone needs, eventually, is a way to bring in murderers. Your 3rd year brings the Dementors. We have mentioned them, we should explain them. Dementors are wraiths. They are tall, they are cloaked, they have no face, but you can sometimes see, under the hood, a mouth, and what is in the mouth is not teeth, but a hole. The hole is what they use to feed. They feed on happiness. They reach into your chest with a metaphysical hand and pull every good feeling out of you, leaving you cold and despairing. They can also, with their mouths, perform what is called the kiss, which is the extraction of the soul through the lips of the victim, leaving the body a living vegetable with no soul. Dementors are used as prison guards at Azkaban, the wizarding prison. The Ministry of Magic considers this a stable arrangement. It is in fact considered humane by their standards, because the prisoners do not need to be physically harmed if their souls are constantly being drained. The prisoners go mad in a few months and die in a few years, but they die quiet, which is the Ministry's main concern. In your 3rd year, Sirius Black escapes from Azkaban. He is the first wizard ever to do so. He is presumed to be a mass murderer and an ally of Voldemort. The Ministry deploys Dementors to the perimeter of Hogwarts to catch him, on the assumption that he will come to the school to kill Harry Potter. The Dementors are at the gates. The Dementors patrol the village of Hogsmeade. The Dementors stray onto the grounds. The Dementors are, by the school's own staff, considered a hazard to the students. The Dementors affect Harry, who has more bad memories than most 12-year-olds, particularly badly. They cause him to relive the night his parents died. They cause him to faint, repeatedly, at the slightest exposure. The school's response is not to remove the Dementors. The school cannot remove the Dementors. The Ministry has placed them, and the Ministry outranks Dumbledore. Dumbledore is furious. He is also constrained. The Dementors stay. Harry has to learn the Patronus charm at age 13, in private lessons with Lupin, so he can defend himself, because the school cannot defend him. Other students are also affected. Other students faint. Other students have panic attacks. Other students start avoiding parts of the grounds where Dementors have been seen. The Dementors are bad enough that one of the school's Quidditch matches has to be cancelled because the Dementors arrive in the middle of it and start attacking players. The school's response is to schedule the next match in a different location. The Dementors stay for the entire year. They are not lifted until Sirius Black escapes again, after being captured, after being confirmed innocent, after a complicated series of events in the Shrieking Shack involving time travel and a Pensieve, and a confession from a man who has been hiding as a rat in the Weasley family for 12 years. The Dementors leave because the Ministry has nothing left to do with them in Hogsmeade. They go back to Azkaban. They do not apologize for the panic attacks. They do not apologize for the Quidditch match. Your 4th year is the Triwizard Tournament. The Triwizard Tournament is, by ancient tradition, a competition between 3 wizarding schools: Hogwarts, Beauxbatons in France, and Durmstrang in Bulgaria. Each school nominates a champion. The champions compete in 3 magical tasks. The winner gets prize money and prestige. The tournament has not been held for 170 years because the death toll was unacceptable, even by wizarding standards. Several champions died in the 18th century. The tournament was discontinued. It is brought back in your 4th year. Dumbledore approves it. The Ministry of Magic approves it. The school approves it. The age limit is set at 17, on the grounds that the tasks are too dangerous for anyone younger. The age limit is enforced by a magical aging line drawn around the Goblet of Fire, the artifact that selects champions. Anyone under 17 who tries to put their name in is repelled by the line. The Goblet of Fire selects 4 champions instead of 3. The 4th is Harry Potter, age 14. The selection happens because someone, later revealed to be Crouch Jr. posing as Mad-Eye Moody, entered Harry's name as a representative of a fictional 4th school, confusing the goblet, which was forced by the rules of magical contract to select Harry alongside the other 3. Harry is required, by an unbreakable magical contract, to compete in the tournament. Dumbledore is unable to override the contract. The Ministry of Magic is unable to override the contract. The contract was set by Goblet, which was set by the original organizers of the tournament in the 13th century. A 14-year-old is forced into a tournament designed to kill 17-year-olds. The first task is a dragon. Each champion must retrieve a golden egg from a clutch of eggs guarded by a fully grown adult dragon. The dragons used are nesting mothers, the most aggressive form of the species, brought in from Romania and corralled in a fenced enclosure on the school grounds. The dragons can breathe fire to a range of about 30 feet. The dragons are not muzzled. The dragons can move. The champions have wands. Harry, age 14, faces a Hungarian horntail, which is the most dangerous breed. He nearly dies. He summons his broomstick and engages the dragon in aerial combat. The dragon breaks its chain and chases him into the castle, where it could have set the 7th floor corridor on fire, but instead it goes back to the enclosure. The audience cheers. The judges award points. The second task is in the Black Lake. The champions are told that something precious to them has been taken and placed underwater. They have 1 hour to retrieve it. The thing precious to them is, in fact, a person they love, frozen and submerged. For Harry, it is Ron. For Cedric Diggory, the Hogwarts adult champion, it is Cho Chang. For Fleur Delacour, it is her sister Gabrielle, who is 8. The 8-year-old French girl, who is not a student at the school, has been kidnapped from her family, frozen, and placed at the bottom of a lake of Grindylows, because the wizarding governance of 3 nations agreed that it was acceptable. Harry, age 14, fights Grindylows. He worries that the captives will die at the 1 hour mark. He worries about it because Dumbledore told him so. He stays at the bottom until he has rescued not only Ron but Gabrielle, because nobody else has arrived. He nearly drowns. He is the only champion to consider that the hostages might actually be in danger. The other champions believe, correctly, that Dumbledore would not let the hostages drown. Harry does not believe Dumbledore. Harry, age 14, is the only one with a realistic threat assessment of his own school administration. The third task is in a hedge maze. The hedges are 20 feet tall. The maze contains, as obstacles, a sphinx, who asks riddles and kills wrong answers, an acromantula, the same species as Aragog, a blast-ended scroot, a boggart, which becomes your worst fear, a charm-locked path, and the Triwizard Cup at the center, waiting to be touched. The first champion to touch the cup wins the tournament. The cup is a portkey. Crouch Jr., the impersonator of Moody, has secretly turned the cup into a portkey to a graveyard in Little Hangleton, where Voldemort is waiting in his weakened wraith form. Harry and Cedric reach the cup together. They touch it together. They land in the graveyard. Cedric is shot dead by a 14-second killing curse from Peter Pettigrew. Harry is tied to a tombstone, has his blood drawn for use in a resurrection ritual, and is forced to watch Voldemort return to a physical body. A 14-year-old watches a 17-year-old murdered in front of him, then watches the most dangerous dark wizard of the century rise from a cauldron made partly of his own blood, then fights him in a wand duel in the graveyard, then escapes with Cedric's body by portkey back to the school. This is the 4th year. This is the tournament. The tournament was sponsored. The tournament had judges. The tournament had a points system. The tournament had photographers. The tournament had cake at the welcome feast. The tournament was held with the full knowledge that students could die, and a student did die, and the dying student's parents were waiting at the finish line, and Cedric's father had to identify his son's body. Amos Diggory was a good man. He had raised Cedric well. He had been proud of Cedric. He was unprepared for the body. The ministry's response was to deny that Voldemort had returned. Cornelius Fudge, the Minister of Magic, declared that Harry was lying or unstable, and that Cedric had died in an accident. The Daily Prophet, the wizarding newspaper, ran a year of stories suggesting Harry was mentally ill and Dumbledore was senile. The wizarding world, in your 4th and 5th year, mostly went along with this, because the alternative, accepting that Voldemort had returned, was unbearable. Your 5th year is the year of Umbridge. We have mentioned her. We need to be more specific. Dolores Umbridge is short. She wears pink. She has a voice like a girl's. She decorates her office with kittens on plates, around the walls, in china rings, mewing constantly and changing position when you look away. She offers tea. She brings out lace doilies. She is sweet. She is gentle. She is also the worst person you will ever meet. She arrives at the school in September, as the new defense against the dark arts teacher, the latest in the cursed parade. She has been appointed by the Ministry as part of Cornelius Fudge's policy of denying Voldemort's return. The Ministry believes Dumbledore is plotting against the government and that Hogwarts must be brought under direct control. Umbridge is the wedge. Her first act is to refuse to teach practical defense magic. Her second is to take detentions. Her third is to be appointed High Inquisitor, which gives her authority to evaluate and dismiss other teachers. Her fourth is to be appointed Headmistress when Dumbledore is forced out. By the end of 5th year, she controls every aspect of the school. She bans student gatherings. She bans organizations of more than 3 students. She bans personal correspondence. She reads the mail. She decrees what may be taught. She fires Trelawney in the middle of the year for incompetence and would have removed her from the castle entirely if Dumbledore had not intervened. She brings the Inquisitorial Squad into being, a student police force made up of Slytherins who patrol the corridors and report on their peers. She uses the Cruciatus Curse on students. She tries in your 5th year to torture Harry Potter with the Cruciatus Curse in her office to force him to reveal the location of Sirius Black. She is stopped only because Hermione tricks her into the Forbidden Forest, where the centaurs take her. She comes back to the school traumatized. She still works there. She runs detentions in which students are forced to write lines with a quill made of dark magic. The quill cuts the words into the back of your hand and writes them in your own blood. There are no ink pots. There is no instruction. There is a quill, a piece of parchment, and the sentence you must write, which she gives to you. For Harry, it is "I must not tell lies." He writes it for hours. His hand bleeds onto the desk. The cut becomes a scar. The scar is permanent. He never tells the staff. The staff does not check on students in detention. The school does not have a policy on what is forbidden in detentions. Other students get the same detentions. The quills get used on dozens of children in your 5th year. Word spreads. No teacher tries to stop her. McGonagall is furious but powerless. Dumbledore is on the run, evading arrest by the Ministry. The official authorities of magical Britain are aligned with Umbridge. The unofficial authorities, the older students, the Order of the Phoenix members and the staff, can only watch. You are a 5th year. You have to take exams. You have to keep your head down. You have to not get the quill. The way to not get the quill is to not be in trouble. The way to not be in trouble is to be silent. Many of you go silent. Some of you start meeting in secret to learn the defense magic Umbridge will not teach. The secret group is led by Harry Potter, age 15, and meets in the Room of Requirement. They call themselves Dumbledore's Army. They are eventually betrayed, and the group is broken up. Umbridge interrogates them. She uses Veritaserum, the truth potion, on several. She tries to use Veritaserum on Harry, but Snape, the potions master, secretly substitutes water. Snape is on Dumbledore's side. Nobody knows it yet. By the end of 5th year, the Department of Mysteries falls. Harry and 5 friends, students aged 15 and 16, fly Thestrals to London to rescue Sirius Black from what they believe is torture by Voldemort. It is a trap. They are ambushed by Death Eaters in a vast underground chamber containing prophecies in glass orbs. They duel for their lives. Several are injured. Hermione is hit by a curse that nearly kills her. Sirius Black is killed in front of Harry, struck by a curse from his cousin Bellatrix and falling backward through a stone archway in the Department of Mysteries, from which no one returns. Harry watches his godfather die. He is 15. Voldemort himself comes for the orb containing the prophecy. He battles Dumbledore in the atrium of the Ministry. Cornelius Fudge sees him with his own eyes. The Ministry is forced to admit that Voldemort has returned. The next morning, the Daily Prophet runs the front-page apology. In your 5th year this happens. You are not at the Ministry. You are in your bed at Hogwarts. You hear about it the next morning. You take the rest of your OWL exams. You go home for the summer. Your family is now afraid in a way they were not before. The war has started. You should think now about Severus Snape, since you cannot understand surviving Hogwarts without understanding the man who teaches potions, who patrols the dungeons at night, who has been at the school for almost as long as Dumbledore. Snape is greasy, the hair never washes, the robes always black, the face long, narrow, hooked, like a bird that has seen too much and decided to dislike everything. He is in his 30s when you meet him, but he carries himself like a man twice that age, like a man who has not had a soft moment in 20 years. He does not smile. He does not make jokes. He does not ask how your weekend was. He stands at the front of the classroom in the dungeon and watches you with eyes that miss nothing. And when you make a mistake, he stops what he is doing, comes over, and humiliates you in front of the class. You have to understand the texture of this. It is not loud humiliation. It is quiet. He picks up your cauldron, looks at the contents, looks at you, and says something cutting in a low voice. Sometimes he repeats your error to the class as an example of what not to do. Sometimes he removes house points. Sometimes he assigns you extra work, which is hours of extra brewing in his classroom, alone with him in the dungeons. Many students would rather take any other punishment. He has favorites. The favorites are Slytherins. He gives Slytherins points for things he takes points off Gryffindors for. He overlooks Slytherin homework that is late. He assigns Gryffindor homework that is impossible. He gives Hermione Granger, who is the best student in your year, lower marks than her work deserves because he cannot stand her. He calls Hermione an insufferable know-it-all. He once tells her that her teeth, which are buck teeth, look no different than usual after a hex has enlarged them grotesquely. He smiles when he says it. Hermione cries in the bathroom for an hour. He is in fact a deeply traumatized man. He was bullied as a teenager by James Potter, Harry's father. He was in love secretly with Harry's mother Lily, who never returned his feelings. He joined the Death Eaters as a young man. He overheard a prophecy that prompted Voldemort to murder Lily. He has spent the rest of his life atoning, working as a double agent for Dumbledore, risking his own death every day to undermine Voldemort. He saves Harry's life repeatedly, secretly. He saves the entire school repeatedly, secretly. He is, in the final analysis, one of the great men of the war. He is also a terrible teacher of children. You do not know about the secret heroism. You do not know about Lily. You do not know about the prophecy. You only know that the man in the front of the classroom hates you, hates your friends, terrifies your shy classmates, makes Neville Longbottom vomit before each class from anxiety, and is the head of a house that has in recent memory produced a disproportionate number of the country's killers. In your third year, Snape teaches the class for a single lesson, substituting for Lupin, and assigns an essay on werewolves. He picks the essay specifically because he knows Lupin is a werewolf and wants the students to figure it out. He is willing to expose a colleague's medical condition to children in order to settle a personal grudge. The essay is assigned. Students do the reading. Hermione, of course, figures it out. The faculty member Snape has betrayed continues working, although he resigns at the end of the year for unrelated reasons. In your fourth year, Snape stands in the back of the staff room watching Harry's name come out of the goblet of fire, and the look on his face is unreadable. He suspects Harry. He suspects Karkaroff, the Durmstrang headmaster, who is a former Death Eater. He suspects everyone. He goes to Dumbledore privately. He plays his role. The role gets harder every year. In your fifth year, Harry takes occlumency lessons with Snape, which are supposed to teach him to defend his mind against Voldemort's intrusions. The lessons are conducted in the evenings, in Snape's office, with Harry being attacked repeatedly with the Legilimens spell, which reads minds and breaks open memories. Harry, age 15, is forced to relive the worst moments of his life on a weekly basis, in private, with a teacher who hates him. Harry retaliates by breaking into Snape's pensieve and watching memories of Snape being bullied as a teenager. The lessons end. The lessons should never have been conducted in private. There is no record of them. There is no third-party witness. A teacher attacked a 15-year-old student's mind, repeatedly, in a closed room, for an academic term, and the school's response was to assume Dumbledore had cleared it. In your sixth year, Snape is finally given the Defense Against the Dark Arts position he has always wanted, and immediately the curse on the position begins to catch up with him, in the form of the plan he has agreed to with Dumbledore, which is the plan in which Snape murders Dumbledore. We will come back to that. We have to. In your sixth year, you also encounter the Half-Blood Prince. The Half-Blood Prince is the previous owner of a potions textbook that Harry has been issued, second-hand, from the school's stores. The book is annotated. The annotations include improvements to the standard potions, which Harry uses, scoring perfect marks in class for the first time. The annotations also include new spells, invented by the previous owner, written in the margins. One of the spells is called Sectum Sempra. The annotation next to it says, simply, for enemies. Harry casts Sectum Sempra on Draco Malfoy in a bathroom in your sixth year, during a confrontation that escalates from a shouting match. He casts it without knowing what it does. He has only seen the words in the margin of his textbook. The spell, when it hits Draco, opens deep slashes across his chest and face, as if a sword had been drawn diagonally across him, cutting through his robes, through his skin, into the muscle. Draco falls to the floor of the bathroom and begins bleeding to death. Snape arrives. Snape, by some preternatural sense, is in the corridor outside, and he comes in, kneels, casts a counterspell that he invented himself, which is the only counterspell, and saves Draco's life. Draco is taken to the hospital wing. He recovers. The scars remain. He carries them on his chest for the rest of his life. He never speaks of them. The Half-Blood Prince is Snape. The book belonged to Snape. The Sectum Sempra spell was invented by Snape as a teenager. Harry, in your 6th year, accidentally used the homemade curse of his potions master, found in the margin of his potions textbook, to nearly kill another student in a bathroom with no adult present on a Friday afternoon. This is the kind of educational environment you are in. Your 6th year contains 2 other incidents you should know about. The first is the necklace. Katie Bell, a 6th year on the Gryffindor Quidditch team, goes to Hogsmeade for a weekend visit. In the bathroom of the 3 broomsticks, she is imperioused, the imperious being one of the 3 unforgivable curses, the one that controls minds. The person imperiousing her is, indirectly, Draco Malfoy, working through a chain of intermediaries because he has been given an impossible task by Voldemort. The task is to kill Dumbledore. Draco is 16. He has been ordered, as punishment for his father's failure at the Department of Mysteries, to murder the headmaster of his school. Draco gives Katie a cursed necklace. Katie is told, by the Imperious Curse, to deliver the necklace to Dumbledore. On her way back to the school, the wrapping comes loose. The necklace touches her bare skin. She is immediately cursed, lifted into the air, and dropped on the path. Her friend Leanne screams. Hagrid, who happens to be in the area, runs over, but does not know what to do. The other students with Katie do not know what to do. She is rushed to Hogwarts, then to St. Mungo's, where she remains for most of the school year, comatose, unable to identify her attacker. When she returns, 6 months later, she remembers nothing. She tells Harry, who pulls her aside in a corridor, only that she remembers picking up the necklace in the bathroom. She does not remember who told her to. The school's response is to deepen the inspections at the gates. No more investigation. No more suspicion of any particular student. The necklace is destroyed. The corridor on the route from Hogsmeade is patrolled by an additional teacher on weekends. The official story is that an unknown party attempted to attack Dumbledore. Katie returns to classes. She still plays Quidditch. She lives. The second incident is the mead. Slughorn, the potions master in your 6th year, was given a bottle of oak-matured mead by Draco. Draco had poisoned it. He had hoped Slughorn would give it to Dumbledore as a gift. Slughorn keeps it in a cabinet, intending to enjoy it himself. On a particular afternoon, Ron Weasley, your friend, age 16, ends up in Slughorn's office for unrelated reasons. He has just been broken up with by his girlfriend, Lavender Brown. Slughorn, attempting to cheer him up, opens the mead. Ron takes a sip. Ron begins to die. He convulses, he goes blue, he cannot speak. Harry, present, grabs a bezoar from Slughorn's potion supplies. A bezoar is a stone found in the stomach of a goat which absorbs most poisons. Harry shoves the bezoar in Ron's mouth. Ron lives. The school's response is to confiscate the mead. The investigation does not proceed further. Draco is not identified. Slughorn is not held responsible for keeping unverified gifts of food in his office. The bezoar Harry used is replaced in the cabinet. Slughorn shrugs and pours himself a smaller drink from a different bottle. You are 16. You are watching this happen. You are a 6th year. You are studying for NEWTs. You are not part of the war. You are simply trying to make it to the end of the year. The war is happening around you. The school is being infiltrated. The students who survive long enough begin to develop an instinct for staying away from windows and doors at certain hours. The students who do not develop this instinct become casualties. Then comes the night Dumbledore dies. It is June. The school year is nearly over. Harry and Dumbledore have been off the grounds, in a cave on the coast, retrieving what they believe is a Horcrux. The retrieval has nearly killed Dumbledore. He is poisoned. He is weakened. They apparate back to Hogsmeade. They fly back to the school. They land on the astronomy tower. Draco Malfoy is waiting for them. Draco disarms Dumbledore. Dumbledore, who could kill Draco with a flick of his wand, even sick and dying, does not. Dumbledore knows what is happening. Dumbledore has planned for this. Dumbledore is dying anyway from the curse on his hand, which he received during his year-long attempt to destroy the Gaunt Ring Horcrux. The plan is that Snape will kill Dumbledore at the moment Voldemort moves on the school, which preserves Snape's cover with Voldemort, and spares Draco the moral collapse of committing murder at 16. Draco hesitates. Other Death Eaters arrive on the tower. Snape comes up the stairs. Snape, who has made the unbreakable vow with Draco's mother to complete the task if Draco fails, points his wand at Dumbledore. Dumbledore says, "Please." Snape, weeping internally, casts Avada Kedavra. Dumbledore falls backward off the tower and lands on the grounds below. You are in your bed. You hear the impact, although you do not know what it is. The school is on fire in several places where Death Eaters have set fires in their rampage through the castle. Several students are in the corridors fighting Death Eaters. Bill Weasley, who is not a student but is at the school for unrelated reasons, is mauled by Fenrir Greyback, the werewolf, and although he is not transformed because Greyback was not in wolf form, Bill develops a taste for raw meat for the rest of his life, and his face is permanently scarred. 3 professors fight in the corridors. Order of the Phoenix members appear. The Death Eaters retreat through the broken castle, dragging Snape with them. By dawn, you know, the whole school knows. Dumbledore is dead. His body is in the entrance hall, covered in a white sheet, surrounded by professors who are weeping. The headmaster is dead. The funeral is held on the grounds. The merpeople come up from the lake to sing. The centaurs come out of the forest to bow. The phoenix Fawkes flies once around the assembled mourners and disappears, never to return. The body is laid in a white marble tomb on the lawn. The tomb is sealed. The school is, briefly, a place of grief. Then term ends. Students go home. You spend the summer at home. You wonder if you will return. Some students do not. Some families pull their children. Some families have lost their children. The Ministry of Magic falls in July. Voldemort takes control. Pius Thickness is installed as the new Minister of Magic, a puppet of Voldemort's. The Daily Prophet is taken over. Muggle-born wizards are registered, hunted, and put on trial. The Snatchers, paramilitary bounty hunters, roam the country looking for runaway Muggle-borns. You return to Hogwarts in September of your 7th year, if you are a pure blood or a half-blood with the right paperwork. If you are Muggle-born, you do not return. If you are Muggle-born and are caught coming, you are sent to Azkaban. Hogwarts attendance is now compulsory for those who can attend, which is a way of saying it is now controlled. The Death Eaters need the children inside the building, where they can be watched, indoctrinated, and used. Severus Snape is the new headmaster. The school knows he murdered Dumbledore. The school does not know he was acting on Dumbledore's orders. To the students, Snape is a traitor, and he must run a school full of children who believe he is the second worst man in Britain after Voldemort. The Carrows, Amicus and Alecto, are appointed teachers of, respectively, Defense Against the Dark Arts, where they teach the Cruciatus Curse as a discipline, and Muggle Studies, where they teach that Muggles are subhuman vermin. The Carrows are confirmed Death Eaters. They are sadists. They use the Cruciatus Curse on students in class. They use it as detention. They use it as a teaching aid. You sit in class. The Carrow at the front of the room calls on a Muggle-born for review questions, knowing the student is Muggle-born. The student answers. The Carrow uses the Cruciatus on him for not answering with sufficient enthusiasm. The student writhes on the floor. Other students watch. Other students cannot intervene. The Carrow looks around, smiling. Anyone who looks unhappy gets the next round. The Cruciatus Curse causes the body to feel as if every nerve is being lit on fire simultaneously. It does not damage the body in visible ways. It damages the nervous system over repeated exposures. Several students at Hogwarts in your 7th year develop tremors that never go away. One of them, a 5th year named Susan Bones, is hospitalized for 2 weeks after a particularly long session. She comes back. She still has the tremor in her left hand. Neville Longbottom, the boy who has been pushed around for years, who has been the easy target, who has lived in the shadow of his hospitalized parents, becomes the leader of the resistance. He organizes Dumbledore's army again. He hides students in the Room of Requirement, which has become a refuge, with hammocks, food, and a portrait of Ariana Dumbledore that connects to the Hog's Head. The students live there. They cannot go to class without being beaten. They cannot leave the castle without being captured. They live in a hidden room behind the 7th floor corridor, like fugitives in their own school. Neville is in detention almost daily. He is beaten, hexed, and made to bleed. His face is permanently bruised. He has lost teeth. He has burns on his arms. He is 16 years old. He continues to resist, and the more he resists, the more students join him. By spring, the room of requirement contains 30 students. By the time Harry returns to the school in May for the final confrontation, there are nearly 50, all of whom have been living in a room for months, eating food Aberforth Dumbledore sends from his pub, through the painting, washing in a single bathroom, sleeping in piles. This is your 7th year. You are not Neville. You may not be in the room of requirement. You may be one of the students still attending classes, surviving by silence, taking the curses as they come, helping where you can. You may be Muggle-born and on the run. You may be in detention regularly. You may be one of the friends Neville feeds in the room. You may be one of the students who simply decided to keep your head down, finish the year, and graduate, on the grounds that the war will end one way or another, and you would like to be alive at the end of it. On the night of May 2nd, you are awoken by an explosion. The castle is shaking. Voldemort and his army have arrived. The Battle of Hogwarts has begun. You are 17. You are a student. You are required by McGonagall to go to the Great Hall, where students under 17 are being evacuated through a tunnel to the Hog's Head, and students of age can choose to stay and fight. You can leave. You can also stay. About 150 students stay. They are 17 and 18 years old. They have never been in a war. They have wands. They have whatever spells they have managed to learn between defense classes that were sabotaged for half their time at school. They will be defending a castle against giants, werewolves, acromantulas the size of houses, dementors, Death Eaters in full uniform, and Voldemort himself. The battle lasts most of the night. Defenders die. You can name some of them. Fred Weasley, 20 years old, killed by an explosion in a corridor. Colin Creevey, 16, killed when he snuck back into the castle to fight after being sent to the Hog's Head with the underage. Remus Lupin and Nymphadora Tonks, killed near the entrance hall, leaving an infant son orphaned. Lavender Brown, attacked by a werewolf. Pansy Parkinson's family, devastated. About 50 students die, approximately as many adults. The castle is shattered in places. The astronomy tower has fallen completely. The astronomy tower is the second one. The temporary replacement they had built after the first was damaged in your 6th year, and now it has come down for good. Snape dies in the Shrieking Shack. Voldemort, mistaking Snape for the master of the Elder Wand, has Nagini bite Snape's throat. Snape bleeds out. He gives Harry his memories in vials he produces from his robes. With his last conscious motion, he dies. He has spent 16 years secretly working for the side that wins, and is killed at the moment of victory by his own master, who never believed in him. Harry, who has by now found and destroyed all the Horcruxes except the one he himself unknowingly carries, walks into the Forbidden Forest to be killed by Voldemort. Voldemort hits him with the killing curse. The Horcrux in Harry's scar is destroyed, not Harry. Harry returns to the castle. The final duel happens in the Great Hall. Voldemort dies. His body lies in the spot where you used to eat treacle tart at lunchtime. The battle ends. You walk out of whatever corner you have been hiding in. The sun is coming up. The castle is in ruins. The grass is covered in bodies, some of them friends, some of them strangers, some of them enemies you cannot now distinguish from your friends, because death looks the same. You realize slowly that you survived 7 years at Hogwarts. You realize that more than 100 people around you today have not. You realize that you are alive, and that the school is not. There will be a memorial. There will be repairs. The school will reopen in September. The next year of students will arrive, 11 years old, with trunks and owls, and they will push through the brick wall at platform 9 3/4 and ride the train north into the Scottish Highlands, and the Sorting Hat will sing them a song, and the cycle will continue. You will get a job. You will marry someone. You will name your children. You will tell them stories about your school, but you will not tell them everything. There are things you do not tell anyone. There are things you barely tell yourself. Now, let us go back. We have only been talking about the dramatic things, the visible things, the things in the books. Let us talk about what it is like to actually live at Hogwarts when nothing dramatic is happening. You wake up every day at 6. You have showered the night before, because the showers in the morning are full, and the hot water is unreliable, because the boiler is enchanted, and the enchantment is older than your grandfather. You dress in your robes. You put on your shoes, you pack your bag. The bag contains a lot of things. Your textbooks, which weigh several pounds each, all of them. Your quills, which break. Your ink pots, which leak. Your parchment, which curls. Your spare quill. Your scales. Your potion ingredients in their pouches. Your spare ingredients. Your wand. Your defense against the dark arts textbook, which this year is the dark arts outsmarted, or confronting the faceless, or whatever the defense teacher has assigned, none of which are quite right. Your charms textbook. Your transfiguration textbook. Your history of magic notebook, which is mostly blank, because nobody takes notes in Binz's class. Your astronomy maps. Your herbology notes. The bag weighs about 15 pounds. You carry it everywhere because the castle does not have lockers. You carry it up to the 7th floor for defense. You carry it down to the dungeons for potions. You carry it across the grounds for herbology. You carry it up the astronomy tower at midnight. By the end of the day, your shoulders ache. Your back is twisted. Your posture by your 4th year has begun to curve forward. Many students develop a hunch. There is a charm for this. The charm makes things light. The charm is taught in your 3rd year. You learn it. You apply it to your bag. The bag is light for about an hour. Then the charm wears off, because charms wear off, and your bag is heavy again, and you have to recast it, except you are in the middle of class, and you cannot. So you carry the heavy bag, you eat breakfast, you go to class, you take notes, you stand up, you walk to the next class. You walk through corridors that have not changed in 1,000 years. You see the same paintings every day. The paintings see you. The paintings, more often than is comfortable, talk about you. The paintings have always talked about you, because the paintings can move between frames, and they can pass information between rooms, and they can chat with each other about what they have seen. You overhear a portrait sometimes gossip about a student who has just walked past. The portrait says that one is going to fail potions. The portrait says that one is going to be sorted into Slytherin even though she got Hufflepuff. The portrait says that one will not graduate. The portraits know things. The portraits remember every student who has ever attended the school. The portraits collectively have seen things you would not want to know about. Some of the portraits are former heads of school who have hung in the headmaster's office for centuries, watching policy decisions, watching disciplinary hearings, watching the slow rot or the slow restoration of various institutions. They have opinions. The opinions are not necessarily aligned with the welfare of students. There is a portrait in the corridor near the charms classroom of a fat knight named Sir Cadogan, who challenges passing students to duels with his own painted sword. He is one of the few portraits who has volunteered to guard a common room. He once briefly replaced the fat lady at the entrance to Gryffindor Tower after the fat lady was slashed by Sirius Black in your 3rd year. Sir Cadogan, in this brief tenure, changed the password 3 times a day, sometimes after challenging arriving students to a duel, and several Gryffindors slept in the corridor because they could not get past him. The fat lady was eventually repaired and restored. Cadogan was returned to his original portrait. He continues to challenge passing students. He still has not dueled anyone successfully. He is, all things considered, the friendliest of the portraits. The unfriendliest portrait is in the 7th floor corridor. It is of a former Slytherin headmaster named Phineas Nigellus Black, who is the great-grandfather of Sirius Black. He hangs in the headmaster's office and also has a portrait in the Black family's London home, which means he can travel between them and serve as a communication channel for the Order of the Phoenix. He hates students. He calls you ineducable. He calls you a parasite on the school's resources. He has held these opinions for 100 years. He is a portrait. He does not have a body. He is a memory. The memory does not soften. There is also a portrait in the dungeons of a former potions master named Damocles Belby, who invented the Wolfsbane potion. He is helpful to students who come to him with potions questions. He is, in fact, one of the few portraits who likes the modern era. He explains. He encourages. He has been doing this for 60 years. He will continue to do this for the foreseeable future. He is a friendly ghost in a school full of difficult ghosts. Then there are the portraits of the headmasters in the headmaster's office. They sleep often. They wake when the current headmaster speaks. They offer advice. They argue. They quarrel about policy. The current headmaster has to wait through several rounds of unsolicited input before they will quiet down enough to think. Dumbledore, when he was headmaster, was good at this. Snape, in his brief tenure, simply ignored them. The portraits remember Snape with resentment. The portrait of Phineas Nigellus says, of Snape, an interesting case. He says nothing more. The other headmasters are politer, but they all know that Snape was a traitor who turned out to be a hero, and they do not quite know how to feel about him. Their hesitation is interesting. It tells you something about the layers in this school. Even the portraits, even the dead, even the painted images of the dead, are not sure who is and who is not on the right side. You are not in the headmaster's office. You are in your dormitory. It is night. You are studying for an exam. You have your books open. You have your notes. You have a quill. You are trying to memorize the dates of the Goblin rebellions, which Binns has rambled about for an entire term. Your dormitory is small. There are 5 beds in a circular room. The beds have hangings. The window is open because it is March, and the air smells like rain. The fire in the fireplace is down to embers. Your roommates are asleep. The candle on your bedside table is short. You are alone with the silence of the castle. The castle has its own sounds. The pipes groan because of the basilisk, which is dead, but the pipes still groan because the pipes have always groaned. The wind moves the suits of armor in the corridor outside. The ghosts sometimes drift past your door without entering. You can hear them in the corridor, talking quietly. You can hear occasionally footsteps that should not be there. The corridor outside your dorm is empty. There is no one there, but you can hear footsteps. There is no rational explanation for this. There is also no investigation. The castle has footsteps. The castle has its own slow inventory of inhabitants you cannot see. You learn by your second year to ignore them. You learn to stop wondering. The castle is what it is. It contains things you cannot see. You sleep anyway. You finish your studying. You blow out the candle. You lie down. You pull the curtains around your bed shut. You sleep. You dream. The dream is a normal dream. The dream is also slightly off, because at Hogwarts, even your dreams are touched by the magic in the walls. You dream of corridors you have not been in. You dream of windows that open onto landscapes that do not exist on the map. You dream of a face you do not know. You wake up at 6. You forget the dream by breakfast. This is the average night. The average week contains a defense lesson, 3 potions classes, 2 transfiguration, 2 charms, 2 herbology, 3 history of magic in which you sleep, an astronomy lesson Tuesday at midnight, care of magical creatures Thursday at 1 if you took it, divination Wednesday afternoon if you took it. It contains meals. It contains Quidditch practice if you are on the team. It contains the library after dinner most nights, because the library is the only quiet place in the castle. It contains, by your 7th year, a great deal of mute preparation. The library is run by Madame Pince. Madame Pince is a thin woman in a high-collared dress, who patrols the stacks like a hawk. She does not allow food. She does not allow drink. She does not allow loud voices. She does not allow many things. She has been at the school for a long time. Some of the students believe she is a vampire, on the grounds that her skin is pale, and she avoids sunlight, and she has long fingers, and she has been there for 40 years, and looks the same as in old photos. The school does not confirm or deny. The library contains a vast collection. It contains everything from beginner's spells to ancient texts on dark magic. The restricted section, behind a chain, contains books that should not be opened by students. The books in the restricted section are dangerous in various ways. Some bite, some scream when opened. Some, if read aloud, summon things into the room. The restricted section is not open to students without a note from a teacher. The notes are rare. The teachers do not give them lightly. There is a particular book in the restricted section called Magic Most Evil. It contains the original instructions for the creation of a Horcrux. It contains the instructions for several other forms of murder that no respectable wizard would consider. It has been in the school's collection since the Founders era. It has never been removed. The argument for keeping it is that a complete library must contain the dark material so that students of the Auras track in their 7th year can be trained to recognize it. The argument against is that 13-year-old students sometimes get their hands on it. Tom Riddle did. He used what he learned to become Voldemort. The school's response to this, after Voldemort's first defeat, was to consider removing the book, and then not to. You do not read Magic Most Evil. Most students do not. Most students by your 7th year have read maybe 20 books from the restricted section, all with notes, all assigned, all about narrow technical subjects. You do, however, walk through the chain at one point. Hermione does, Harry does, Ron does. Many students do, briefly, looking for a specific reference, in the middle of a busy night. The chain is symbolic. The chain is not magical. You step over it. You find what you need. You step back. Nothing happens, most of the time. Once, in your 5th year, a student named Stuart Ackerley, a 4th year, opens a book in the restricted section and is found 2 hours later in the same aisle, sitting on the floor, smiling. He cannot speak. He has not spoken since. He has been in the long-term care room of the hospital wing for 6 months now. The book he opened has been moved to a locked cupboard. The cupboard is in Pince's office. The cupboard is in addition to the chain, which suggests that the chain is in fact insufficient, and the school knows this, but has not added a lock to the restricted section because, well, students need reference material. There is also, in the corner of the restricted section, a section of the wall that is slightly off color. The stones do not quite match the rest. The mortar is darker. Sometimes at night, when only the candles are lit, you can see that a door used to be there. The door has been bricked up before living memory. The door led somewhere the school did not want students going. The bricks are old. Nobody can tell you what was behind them. Pince knows. Pince will not say. You read this stuff and you wonder, sometimes, what has been bricked up that you do not know about. The castle has been there for 1,000 years. Generations of headmasters have made decisions, and many of those decisions have been to close off, hide, remove, or seal certain rooms, passages, and chambers. The Chamber of Secrets was one. Others exist. The students do not know about them. The teachers mostly do not know about them. Only Dumbledore knew the full inventory, and Dumbledore is dead, and his notes were inherited by McGonagall, who inherited only a fraction of what she would need. You will spend 7 years in a building whose floor plan exceeds the institutional memory of the people running it. You will live in a place older and stranger than anyone in charge. It is your 2nd year. It is October. You are walking back to the dorm after dinner. You pass a corridor you have walked down many times. Tonight there is a door in the corridor. You stop. You have walked this corridor for 14 months. There has been no door here. There is a door here now. The door is wooden. The door has a brass handle. The door is slightly open. You stand there. You listen. You hear nothing. You see, through the gap, what looks like a small library with a single armchair and a low table. You walk on. You do not open the door. You do not investigate. You learned, by November of your 1st year, not to investigate things. The next morning the door is gone. You walk past the spot. The wall is solid. You consider mentioning it to Hermione. You decide not to. This is Hogwarts. Many students have had this experience. The Room of Requirement does this sometimes, randomly, when there is residual magic from a recent use. Other rooms exist for which nobody has a name. Other doors appear and disappear. The school's policy is to ignore it. The students who do not ignore it are sometimes never heard from again. There is a hallway in the 3rd sub-basement, which is supposed to be unused. It is unused, mostly. Filch goes down there once a year to check the dust. The dust always looks the same. The dust never disturbs. The dust never moves. But the air in the 3rd sub-basement smells like roses. Nobody has a rose garden in the castle. There is no botanical reason for the smell of roses. The smell is fresh, not stale. The smell is, somehow, alive. Nobody talks about the 3rd sub-basement. The students who have been there mostly went down by mistake. They came back up. They mentioned the smell. They were told, by Filch or by a prefect, not to go down again. They did not go down again. You will not go down to the 3rd sub-basement. You will not push open the door that should not be there. You will not investigate the smell of roses. You will not, if you are smart, follow the music you sometimes hear coming from behind a wall that has no door, in the trophy room, on Wednesday afternoons, between 3 and 4. You will not write down the words you sometimes see briefly in the steam of your morning tea before they evaporate. These are not anomalies, these are features. The school is full of these. It has been full of them for 1,000 years. The students who notice them, who keep notebooks, who try to make a record, eventually go quiet. The notebooks end up in the library, in archives that nobody catalogues, or in the long-term care room. The school does not encourage research into its own oddities. The school does not, as a matter of policy, want to know. You learn, by your 3rd year, the rules of survival. You walk quickly through corridors after dark. You do not open doors you have not been told about. You do not respond to footsteps that have no walker. You do not look in mirrors after midnight, because some of them are not mirrors. You do not eat food that has been left on a table by someone you do not recognize. You do not pet stray animals that approach you in the grounds. You do not answer questions from portraits you have not met. You do not enter the forbidden forest. You do not go to the 7th floor unless you have business there. You do not visit Moaning Myrtle's bathroom unless you need to vomit. You do not look at the basilisk's corpse if you ever find the entrance to the chamber, which you will not. You do not tell adults what you have seen, because the adults do not want to know. You sleep with your bed curtains shut. You keep your wand under your pillow. You take care of your friends. You do not get involved in the bigger conflicts unless you have to. You also somehow fall in love. You also somehow have moments of laughter so pure that they ring in the back of your mind for the rest of your life. You also see things in the Great Hall at Christmas, in the snow on the lawn, in the lake at sunrise, that no muggle has ever seen and no muggle will ever see. You drink butterbeer with friends in Hogsmeade. You sit by the fire in the common room after a hard day. You go to a Yule Ball. You eat pumpkin pasties on the train back home. You write letters by owl. The school is also beautiful. The school is also kind. The school does sometimes take care of you. McGonagall, when you come to her with a real problem, will help you. Hagrid, despite the chaos of his life, will have tea with you and listen. Madame Pomfrey, despite her exhaustion, will tend you with skill. The Fat Friar, the Hufflepuff ghost, is genuinely warm and will tell you a joke if you need one. Slughorn, despite his social climbing, will throw you a Christmas party and remember your name a decade later. Flitwick is unfailingly cheerful. Sprout will let you sit in the greenhouse on a cold day when you are alone and warm up next to the plant heaters. There is goodness in this school. There are kindnesses daily that you will remember when you are old. But the goodness is set against the danger. The kindness is set against the indifference. The school is not safe. It has never been safe. It will never be safe. It is what it is, and you survive what you survive, and you carry the rest with you for the rest of your life. You do not survive on your own. You survive because your friends survived with you. You survive because Hermione had a book on the Whomping Willow. You survive because Neville knew which plant cured a Bibatuba burn. You survive because Ron knew how to get past the chess set, even though it nearly killed him. You survive because Cedric showed you how to take a defensive stance against the dragon. You survive because Luna saw the Thestrals, and you did not, and she explained them to you, and you understood what death meant a little before you had to face it. You survive because the girls in your dormitory taught you to brush your hair so the snarl on the back of your head did not catch fire when you bent over a cauldron. You survive because the boys taught you to roll up your sleeves before potions because hot ink will burn through wool. You survive because in a school full of dangers, the other children are your family. You leave Hogwarts at 17. You have changed in ways you cannot describe. You are good at certain things you were not good at when you arrived. You can produce a Patronus on demand. You can transfigure a teacup into a tortoise. You can identify a hippogriff at 50 paces. You can brew the draught of living death. You can hold your own in a duel. You can walk a moving staircase without losing your footing. You can recognize a curse before it lands. You can also wake up at night, in your bed at home, listening for a sound that is not there. You can also walk past brick walls and not flinch. You can also taste pumpkin pasties and remember a face that died. You can also feel, sometimes, in the corner of your eye, that someone is watching you, and the someone is not there, and you know this, and you continue with your day, because that is what you learnt at Hogwarts. You learnt how to live in a place that watches you. You learnt how to do your work, in a building that contains things you cannot name. You learnt how to keep going. You will keep going. The school will keep going. 11-year-olds will keep being delivered to it. We have not yet talked about boggarts. A boggart is a shape-shifting creature that lives in dark places, in attics, in the back of wardrobes, in unused trunks. When approached, the boggart takes the form of whatever the approaching person most fears. There is no general form. There is only the form you give it. In your 3rd year, Defense Against the Dark Arts brings the boggart to class as an exercise. Lupin, the werewolf, conducts the lesson. He explains the spell, Ridiculous, which forces the boggart to take a comic form. He brings out a trunk containing a captured boggart. He invites students to line up. One by one, you step forward. The boggart looks at you. The boggart becomes your fear. You cast the spell, The boggart, transformed into something ridiculous, retreats. The next student steps up. This is sound pedagogy in some narrow sense. It is also a classroom exercise in which 30 children, in front of their peers, expose the worst thing they can imagine. Neville Longbottom's boggart becomes Severus Snape, which tells you Neville's most powerful fear is a teacher. Ron's boggart becomes a giant spider, the same kind that lives in the Forbidden Forest, and that Ron has personal reason to fear from his second year. Parvati Patil's boggart becomes a mummy. Lavender Brown's boggart becomes a snake. The boggart of one girl in the corner becomes a corpse with her own face, lying on the floor in front of her. She does not cast the spell, she just stares. Lupin steps in front of her, and the boggart, sensing the new target, becomes a silver orb. Lupin says ridiculous, and the orb deflates. He moves the next student forward and asks the girl with the corpse boggart to step out of the room. She does. She does not come back to class for 2 weeks. When she comes back, she will not look at Lupin. Lupin does not call on her in class. The class continues. Nobody discusses what happened. The exercise was, technically, a success. The girl was, technically, fine. Most schools in the modern Muggle world do not have any equivalent of this. They do not have an exercise in which the student's deepest fear is made manifest in front of their classmates. They do not have a teacher who passes a wardrobe down a row of children and asks each of them to confront the thing they have nightmares about. They have sometimes exercises in writing or in art class where children are asked to express fear. Those exercises are not the same. Those exercises do not summon the fear into the room. At Hogwarts, the exercises summon the fear. This is something the school is, in a sense, proud of. They believe in confrontation. They believe in exposure. They believe that the way to teach a child to handle a dark thing is to put the dark thing in front of the child and tell the child to deal with it. There is some merit in this approach. There is also a long, accumulating cost. Many of the children in your class will, by the end of the 3rd year, know what their personal fear looks like in the eyes of their classmates. They will know that everyone saw it. They will carry that. Children are unkind. The mummy will be teased. The snake will be teased. The spider will be teased less, because spiders are common fears. But the children whose boggarts were unusual, the children whose boggarts revealed something they had not wanted exposed, will live with that exposure for the rest of their lives at school. The boggart was the lesson. The lesson was that fear can be transformed. The lesson was also, in the texture of what actually happened, that the school takes your private inner life and puts it in the middle of the room. This is part of the curriculum. Divination is another example. Although the costs are different, divination is taught by Sybil Trelawney in a tower room reached only by a trapdoor in the ceiling of a corridor, with a ladder lowered from above. The room is full of candles, low cushions, crystal balls, teacups, incense, and Trelawney herself, a tall, thin woman with enormous glasses, who speaks in a half-whisper. She drinks sherry. She has been drinking sherry, off and on, since the 70s. The school is not in a position to fire her, because she is the seer who made the prophecy about Harry and Voldemort, the same prophecy that triggered the deaths of Lily and James Potter, and Dumbledore feels he owes her permanent employment. She is not, in normal terms, a good teacher. She does not, in normal terms, have real powers. She makes prophecies twice in her career, both of them genuine, neither of which she remembers having made. The rest of her teaching is gentle nonsense. She reads tea leaves with confident interpretations. She predicts deaths. She predicts deaths in the next week, the next month, the next year. She predicts Harry Potter's death 3 times per term for 6 years. She is wrong every time. She does not notice she is wrong. The students are split. Some of them love divination. They sit on the cushions. They breathe the incense. They let the lady talk. Some of them hate it. Hermione, by your 3rd year, has formally dropped the class in a confrontation that makes Trelawney cry. Some of the students are afraid of it. They believe Trelawney. They believe the predictions of their deaths. They walk through their last year of divination, believing they will die in some specific way she has described, on some specific date, and although the date passes and they do not die, the memory of believing it stays. The room is also a fire hazard. The candles are arranged on low tables. The cushions are flammable. The wood floor is old. The incense burns in open censers. There is no fire suppression. The students sit on cushions, drinking tea, surrounded by open flame, in a tower room with only one exit, which is the ladder down through the trapdoor. The ladder is slow. The ladder is the only exit. A fire would be catastrophic. There has not as yet been a major fire. There have been small fires. The students stamp them out with their robes. Trelawney does not notice. This is the safest of the classroom hazards. This is one of the gentler dangers. Divination is in the spectrum of Hogwarts dangers, a fairly mild elective, and yet you spend 3 years in a confined space with low oxygen and open flame, being told you will die. Apparition lessons are another. In your 6th year, the ministry offers apparition lessons at the school. Apparition is the magical art of teleporting from one place to another. It is taught to students 16 or older. The lessons are conducted by a ministry instructor in the Great Hall. To apparate, you must visualize 3 things: your destination, your determination, and your destination again. You must want to be there. You must imagine the space. You must turn on the spot with focus, and you will arrive. Apparition has a failure mode. The failure mode is called splinching. Splinching is when part of you arrives at the destination and another part does not. The part that does not arrive remains in the original location. The part that does arrive is now missing a leg, or an arm, or an eyebrow, or in worst cases, a head. You learn apparition by attempting it over and over in the Great Hall, in front of 100 other students, in front of the ministry instructor. The first session, half the students splinch themselves. They leave behind fingernails, hair, slips of skin. The instructor moves through the hall, retrieving abandoned body parts and pressing them back to their owners, who must hold the part in place while the magic refuses it. In one session, a girl named Susan Bones leaves her entire leg behind. She arrives on the other side of the Great Hall with one leg, and her other leg is still where she started, lying on the floor in a stocking and shoe. She does not panic. She has been told this can happen. She is hopping in place. The instructor walks calmly to the abandoned leg, picks it up, walks it across the hall, hands it to her. She holds it against her hip. The instructor casts a spell. The leg fuses. She walks away. The whole class watches. This is the lesson. This is the curriculum. This is what they do to teach you how to teleport. The Ministry of Magic considers this acceptable training. The school considers this acceptable training. The parents pay extra for these sessions. The parents are not in the room. The parents do not see the leg lying on the floor. You take the test at the end of the year. You take it in a designated examination centre in Hogsmeade. You take it alone. You apparate from one ring to another. If you apparate cleanly, you pass. If you splinch, you fail. The examiner, who is impatient, simply waits while you refuse yourself, then asks you to try again. Most students pass on their 2nd or 3rd attempt. Some students do not. Some students have never been able to apparate cleanly because some piece of them mentally has not consented to leave one place for another, and that piece keeps getting left behind, and they fail the test repeatedly, and eventually they get a non-apparition license and ride brooms or use flu powder for the rest of their lives. The flu network is another option. Flu is the magical fireplace network. You throw a handful of green powder into a fire, step into the flames, which do not burn you, and say the name of the destination fireplace clearly. The fire whirls. You arrive at the other end, in your destination fireplace, often covered in soot. The flu has its own failure modes. If you mispronounce the destination, you end up in the wrong fireplace. Harry, in your 2nd year, mispronounces Diagon Alley as Diagonally and ends up in Nocturne Alley, which is the Wizarding World's red light district, full of dark wizards and worse. He escapes. He is found by Hagrid. He returns home. The flu is more or less what people use. The flu can also be intercepted. The ministry monitors all flu travel. They know who goes where. They have records. In bad governments, the records are weaponized. During the Voldemort regime in your 7th year, the flu network is closed to most homes. The exceptions are official destinations, monitored by the ministry, where you are recorded on arrival. The flu network thus becomes a surveillance system. You will, in your school years, use the flu perhaps a dozen times. You will splinch yourself perhaps 3 times. You will ride brooms many times. You will use portkeys for school field trips. The transportation infrastructure of the Wizarding World is in every form more dangerous than the equivalent Muggle infrastructure, and the equivalent Muggle infrastructure includes commercial air travel. You learn to take the risk because the alternative is not travelling. Now let us go to the kitchens. The kitchens of Hogwarts are below the Great Hall, accessed through a corridor near the Hufflepuff common room. You enter through a painting of a fruit bowl. You tickle the pear in the painting. The painting opens, and you are in the kitchens, which are enormous, full of fires, ovens, long tables, and house elves. The house elves see you. They light up. They love students. They have nothing in their lives but service. They will give you whatever you want. They will pile sandwiches on a plate. They will pour you butterbeer. They will offer you cake. They will offer to come to your dormitory at night with snacks. They will, if you ask, do your laundry. They will iron your robes. They will polish your shoes. You do not want to be in the kitchens. You can come, technically. The kitchens are not forbidden. They are simply not advertised. Most students do not know they are there. Most students go their whole 7 years without seeing the kitchens. Hermione, who knows about them by your 4th year, has been trying to free the elves through her society for the promotion of elfish welfare, which has 9 members at its peak, all of them Hermione's friends, 2 of them Ron and Harry, only as a favor. The reason most students do not come to the kitchens is that being there forces you to see what is happening. You see the elves, in the dozens, working. You see them peeling vegetables with their bare hands. You see them carrying pots that are heavier than they are. You see them, in your peripheral vision, occasionally hit themselves with a tray when they think they have made a mistake. You see them flinch when a higher-ranking elf walks past, because there are ranks among house elves, and the lower-ranking ones get the bad jobs. You see the kitchen because you are looking for it. Most students do not look. The school's policy is that the elves are happy. The elves themselves report that they are happy. The school takes this report at face value. The complexity of slave consciousness, of how a being raised to want servitude can speak honestly about wanting servitude, is not a complexity the school is interested in. Dobby, formerly the house elf of the Malfoy family, becomes a free elf and works at Hogwarts for wages. He is the only paid elf. The other elves shun him. They consider him a traitor to elfdom. The school allows him to work for pay because Dumbledore is willing. The school does not extend the offer to any other elf. The other elves would refuse if asked. The school knows this. The arrangement holds. You eat the food, you ignore the kitchens. This is what most students do. By your 7th year, you have eaten approximately 3,000 meals at Hogwarts, all prepared by enslaved labor, and you have not thought about it more than 10 times. The school has trained you to look away. The training was successful. You will look away for the rest of your life. Now consider Hogsmeade more closely. Hogsmeade is a village. It is built on land that was traditionally a wizarding settlement. It has approximately 300 permanent residents. The village contains Honeydukes, the sweet shop, which sells acid pops that will burn through your tongue if you suck them too long, and cockroach clusters, and blood lollipops for the local vampire population, and many other items. Zonko's joke shop, which sells dung bombs, hiccup sweets, frog spawn soap, and various nose-biting teacups, all of which are sold to children with no age restrictions. Madame Puddifoot's tea shop, which is small and pink and decorated with cherubs, where couples go on dates. The Three Broomsticks, a respectable pub. The Hog's Head, a disreputable pub. Scrivenshaft's quill shop. The post office, which contains hundreds of owls of different sizes for different distances. The train station, the Shrieking Shack, which is reputedly the most haunted building in Britain, and a number of houses where the residents live. The Hog's Head is run by Aberforth Dumbledore, the headmaster's brother. The bar is dirty. The glasses are smeared. The customers are, depending on the year, smugglers, fugitives, dark wizards, auras in disguise, Death Eaters in disguise, and frequently students who have snuck in for a butterbeer. Aberforth does not check ages. He does not check identities. He pours what is ordered and takes the coin. The bar smells of goat, because Aberforth keeps goats in the back. The clientele includes, on any given night, people who are visibly not what they seem. This is one of the destinations of student field trips. You walk to it, in a group of friends, on a Saturday afternoon. You drink butterbeer at one of the tables. You watch a man in the corner, hooded, who has been there since you arrived, who has not moved. You realize, after some time, that the man is not breathing. You realize, after more time, that the man may not be alive in the conventional sense. You finish your butterbeer. You leave. You do not return to the Hog's Head. You go to the Three Broomsticks instead. The Three Broomsticks is run by Madame Rosmerta, a kind, beautiful woman who is the object of male affection across multiple generations. She is also, in your 6th year, imperioused for several months by Draco Malfoy, used as a conduit for the cursed necklace that nearly killed Katie Bell. Rosmerta does not remember this. She has the memory wiped. She continues to run the pub. She is, otherwise, fine. The interruption to her life is treated as a minor mishap. You are now 17. You have lived through almost all of this. You are by some measure an experienced young wizard. You sit at a table in the Three Broomsticks with 2 friends. You order butterbeer. You drink. You laugh. You go home. You also think, sometimes, about who you would have been without the school. You think about who you would have been if you had not learned to walk past a brick wall, if you had not learned to recognize the difference between a boggart and a dementor by their first appearance, if you had not learned to brew a calming draught while holding your breath because the fumes from someone else's polyjuice potion are wafting across the dungeon, if you had not learned to dive off a broom at speed and roll on impact, if you had not learned to identify which of the people in a crowded room is wearing a glamour and which is not, and which might be polyjuiced into someone you trust, you think about the version of you who never went to Hogwarts, the version of you who went to school in a town with a uniform, with lockers, with school nurses, with fire drills, with cafeteria food that came from a kitchen with health inspections, with teachers whose worst flaws were that they assigned too much homework. You think about how that person would have grown up. You think about how that person would not have known the things you know. You feel both glad and sad about it. You also realize, when you think long enough, that you would never have given Hogwarts back. You would not. The school cost you things. The school took friends. The school took comfort. The school took whole years out of your childhood. The school left you with scars on your hand and elsewhere that will not fade. The school broke you in ways you do not always notice until you are alone and quiet, and someone you love is asleep beside you, and you find that you are listening for a sound that the house cannot possibly contain. But the school also gave you everything else. The school gave you magic. The school gave you friends who saw what you saw. The school gave you the moments of grace, the moments of light, the moments when you stood in the snowy courtyard at midnight on Christmas Eve, and the sky was full of stars, and your friends were laughing, and the castle behind you was warm and ancient and full of secrets, and you knew, you really knew, that you would never again in your life see anything more beautiful, so you would not give it back. This is the trick of Hogwarts. The trick is that the school is both. The school is the most beautiful place on the island of Britain. The school is also the most dangerous place on the island of Britain. The school will kill you if you are not careful, and even if you are, the school will also give you in exchange an experience of the world that nobody outside the school can have. The trade is not fair. The trade is what is offered. You take it because there is no choice. You took it at 11. You signed the contract. You boarded the train. Now let us walk through the things we have not yet talked about. We have not talked, for example, about the Slytherin Common Room. The Slytherin Common Room is in the dungeons. It is below the lake. The windows look out into the murky green water of the Black Lake. When you sit in the common room, you see, occasionally, the giant squids swim past your window. You see grindylows. You see fish. You see a corpse, once, in your 5th year, drift past the window slowly in the green light and disappear into the deeper water. You do not know whose corpse. You do not ask. You do not tell anyone. The Slytherin Common Room saw a corpse. The Slytherin Common Room sees many things. The students who live there learn early what to mention and what to keep to themselves. The room itself is decorated in green and silver. The chairs are leather. The fireplace is large. The portraits on the walls are of past Slytherin students, many of them notorious. The portraits do not greet you politely. The portraits judge. The portraits remember students from 60 years ago who were exactly like you, they say, and who came to bad ends. The Slytherin students are not, as a rule, evil. Most of them are normal children. Most of them are sorted into Slytherin because they are ambitious, or pragmatic, or willing to use the means available to achieve the ends they want. Most of them grow up to be perfectly fine adults. A disproportionate number of them, however, become Death Eaters. The disproportion is significant. About 1/3 of the wizards in Voldemort's inner circle were Slytherins. The other 3 houses produced almost no Death Eaters. The system that sorts you may, in fact, have biases. The system that sorts you may, in fact, be selecting for traits that, in your generation and the generation before, were also being selected for by the Death Eater recruitment process. The hat denies this. The hat says it merely identifies core character. The hat has not been audited. The hat has been wrong before, on the record. The hat sorted Tom Riddle into Slytherin. The hat sorted Snape into Slytherin. The hat sorted Lucius Malfoy into Slytherin. The hat sorted Bellatrix Black into Slytherin. The hat then sorted 100 other Slytherins who did nothing wrong. The hat is a tool. The tool, like all tools, has a track record. The Hufflepuff common room is, by contrast, near the kitchens. It is reached through a series of barrels in a corridor in a basement corridor. You have to tap the right barrel in the right pattern with your wand. If you tap the wrong barrel, you are doused in vinegar, which is one of those features of the school that nobody asks about, because the answer would presumably involve the founder Helga Hufflepuff having a sense of humor that nobody quite understood. The vinegar baths happen every year to students from other houses trying to find the Hufflepuff entrance. The Hufflepuffs themselves never get doused because they know the pattern. They know the pattern because they were told the pattern when they arrived. The vinegar protects them from infiltrators. The vinegar also occasionally splashes into the eyes of an 11-year-old who took a wrong turn looking for the charms classroom. The Ravenclaw common room is in the West Tower. The entrance is a knocker shaped like an eagle. To get in, you must answer a riddle. The riddle is different every time. If you answer correctly, you may enter. If you answer incorrectly, you must wait outside until someone else comes along who can answer. There is no override. There is no headmaster's master key. There is no procedure for emergency entry. The Ravenclaw common room is in this way the most architecturally exclusive of the houses, and also the one in which students are most often locked out in the corridor. There is a story, possibly apocryphal, of a Ravenclaw first year named Reginald Catamol, who in 1983 was locked out for 2 days. The riddle was about prime numbers. He did not know enough about prime numbers. He sat on the corridor floor outside the Eagle Door for 48 hours, eating chocolate from his pocket, doing his homework on his knees, waiting for an older student to come along. None did, because it was a long weekend and everyone was at Hogsmeade. He was eventually found by McGonagall on her Sunday rounds. He was given the riddle solution and went inside. He did not speak about the incident. He graduated. The Ravenclaw common room has had this design for 1,000 years. The design has not been amended. The Gryffindor Tower we have discussed. It is at the 7th floor. The portrait of the fat lady who guards the entrance is a former singer in the 1800s. She is friendly but vain. She is also occasionally missing from her frame because she has visited other portraits in the castle for tea. When she is gone, you cannot get in. You sit in the corridor and wait. She is usually back within an hour. Once, in your second year, she was gone for half a day because Sir Cadogan, in another portrait, had invited her to a game of cards, and they had lost track of time. You waited in the corridor with 3 other Gryffindors, eating sandwiches from the kitchens that a passing prefect had run down to fetch, and at 5 in the afternoon the fat lady came back, apologized briefly, asked for the password, and let you in. The portraits run their own lives. The portraits are not on a schedule. The portraits are not employees. The portraits are technically paintings, but they are paintings with consciousness, and they are subject to no human management. The portrait guarding your common room may or may not be available when you arrive. There is no backup. There is no override. You wait. The Bloody Baron is the only one who can override. The Bloody Baron is a ghost. The Bloody Baron, as we have mentioned, is the only entity in the castle that Peeves obeys. The Bloody Baron is also, by reputation, the only one who can compel the fat lady to her station, because he can frighten her. He has done this once, in living memory, when Sirius Black slashed her painting in your 3rd year, and she fled to a different portrait, and the Bloody Baron had to be persuaded by McGonagall to track her down and convince her to come back. These are the politics of the castle. The castle is not a building. The castle is a society. The society includes paintings, ghosts, poltergeists, talking suits of armor, animate staircases, the founder's enchantments, and the students. The students are the youngest faction. The students have the least power. The talking suits of armor, by the way, exist. The talking suits of armor are not common. There are a few of them scattered through the castle that occasionally speak. They speak in old voices. They speak in fragments. They sometimes shout warnings. They are at this point mostly decorative. Once or twice a year, On the anniversary of some old battle, they all begin to clang together, swords against shields, and the noise echoes through the corridors. The students know the date. The students know to wear earplugs that night. The school's policy is to leave them alone. The suits of armor have been in those positions for centuries. Removing them would, the founder's enchantments suggest, cause more problems than the noise. Some of the suits of armor contain things. Most do not. One of them, in the south wing, contains the bones of a knight who was buried in it during the Wars of the Roses, hundreds of years before the school was even built. The bones were inside the suit when the suit was purchased by Helga Hufflepuff at an auction. The bones have been inside the suit ever since. The bones are not visible. The bones are not removed. The suit stands in the south corridor, unmoving, with the knight inside it. Students pass it daily. Students do not know. Filch knows. Filch checks on the suit every Sunday morning to make sure the bones are still inside. The bones are. Filch ticks his clipboard. Now let us walk through the bathrooms. The bathrooms at Hogwarts are also not regulated by modern standards. There are bathrooms on every floor. There are bathrooms in every common room. There are bathrooms in the dungeons. There are bathrooms in the towers. The bathrooms are mostly fine. Some of them, however, have features. The bathroom on the first floor, near the defense classroom, is, as we have mentioned, where Moaning Myrtle lives. Myrtle is a 14-year-old girl ghost. She has been haunting the toilet stall, where she was killed for 50 years. She is not the only haunted bathroom in the castle, although she is the only one with a name. The bathroom on the 5th floor, in the prefect's suite, is one of the gentler bathrooms. It contains an enormous tub, large enough to swim in, with 100 taps. Each tap dispenses a different soap, oil, or magical foam. The prefect's bathroom is the bathroom Harry uses in your 4th year to take the golden egg under the water and discover the merpeople's song. The bathroom is also where Cedric Diggory recommended Harry take the egg, although Cedric did not get to enjoy the bathroom much more himself. The bathroom on the 2nd floor, near the trophy room, is the one where Lockhart was set up in your 2nd year for his dueling club demonstration that went wrong. It is also where, in your 6th year, Draco Malfoy goes to cry, and where Harry Potter casts Sectum Sempra on him. The bathroom carries the residual magic of these events. The mirrors are slightly off. They reflect sometimes things that are not in the room. Most students avoid it. The bathroom in the dungeons, near the Slytherin common room, has for some reason a tap that always runs hot, even when you turn the cold side. It is the only tap that does this. The other taps work fine. The hot tap that should not be hot has been hot since before living memory. Filch has not investigated. The tap is by all accounts magic. The magic is not catalogued. The water does no harm. The students wash their hands in it. They never know why it is hot. The bathroom in the corridor outside the astronomy tower, on the 7th floor, has one toilet stall that nobody uses because the toilet seat sometimes lifts on its own at exactly 3 in the morning. Whatever this is, it has not been investigated. The students do not use that stall. The other stalls are fine. The bathroom is otherwise normal. Filch checks it once a week. Filch has nothing to report. These are not exciting hazards. These are the everyday strangeness of the school. You live with them. You learn the patterns. You avoid the bad stall. You wash your hands in the warm tap. You ignore the suit of armor with the bones. You take the route around the haunted painting that always insults you. You find your way. By the time you graduate, you can walk the entire castle in the dark, with your eyes closed by sound and air pressure alone, because you have lived there for 7 years and the castle is in your bones. You know which corridors have a draft. You know which steps creak. You know where the cold spot in the 3rd floor corridor is. The cold spot that is not on any map. The cold spot you walk past briskly because the cold spot is something. You know which corner of the library makes you feel watched. You know which window in the entrance hall, on certain nights, shows a different moon than the one in the sky. You also know how to make tea in the kitchen of your common room with limited supplies, how to share a textbook between 3 people during an exam, how to pass a note in Binz's class without anyone noticing, how to identify a counterfeit galleon by weight, how to charm a tea kettle to fly across the room and pour itself into your cup. You know how to live. You graduate. You leave. You do not go back to visit, often. The school is a place you can visit. The school welcomes visitors. McGonagall, if she is still there, will receive you in the staff room. The portraits will remember you. The fat lady will swing aside for you, although your password will be wrong, and you will have to be vouched for. The kitchens will feed you. The grounds will be unchanged. The grounds will be unchanged because they cannot be changed. The castle is not in any sense modernized. The castle is the same castle Helga Hufflepuff walked in 900 years ago. The trees in the Forbidden Forest are the same trees the founders saw. The Black Lake is the same lake. The merpeople in the lake are the descendants of the merpeople the founders treated with. The squid in the lake may, conceivably, be the same squid, given that giant squids have unknown lifespans, and the lake squid was already old when Harry's grandfather attended. The school survives because the school is hard to change. The school is hard to change because changing it would require disturbing things that the founders set in place, and the things the founders set in place are tied to the structural integrity of the castle, and disturbing them would, in some sense, make the castle fall. So the school remains. This is its own kind of horror, not the horror of a specific incident, the horror of an institution that cannot improve, the horror of an institution whose hazards are built into the load-bearing walls, the horror of an institution whose students will, generation after generation, be exposed to the same dangers in the same ways, with the same insufficient supervision, with the same insufficient infrastructure, with the same indifferent administration, and the school will continue to graduate students, and the students will continue to enter the wider wizarding world, and the wider wizarding world will continue to be a society of people who survived this education, with all the strangeness that implies. The wider wizarding world does not function the way Muggle Britain functions. There is no NHS for the wizarding world. There is no police force in the conventional sense. There is no consumer protection. There is no school inspectorate. There is no labor protection. There is no occupational health and safety regime. The wizarding world is a society of approximately 50,000 wizards and witches in Britain, governed by a ministry that is small, corrupt, and easily captured, and educated almost entirely at Hogwarts, and a handful of other schools that operate on similar principles. The graduates of Hogwarts are the citizens of this society. They are the workforce. They are the politicians. They are the bureaucrats. They are the journalists. They are the doctors. They are the magical creature researchers. They are the auras. They are the dark wizards. They are everyone. The society they make is shaped by what they survived in school. The society tolerates a much higher level of risk than the Muggle world tolerates. The society tolerates ambiguity about authority. The society tolerates, even celebrates, the unconventional, the eccentric, the dangerous. The society does not really know how to take care of its members. The society loses in any given year a small but consistent number of people to magical accidents, to dark magic, to creatures, to misfired spells, to dragon attacks, to potion mishaps. The society does not notice this. The society is used to it. You, when you become an adult, are part of this society. You participate in this normalcy. You raise children eventually. You send your children to Hogwarts eventually. You write the letter. You wave goodbye on platform 9 3/4. You watch the train pull out. You wonder for a moment what you have done. Then you go home. You make tea. You read the newspaper. You wait for the owl from your child, describing the first week of classes. The owl arrives. The child is fine. The child is not fine. The child is at Hogwarts. The child is alive and excited and tired and overwhelmed and joyful. And the child writes that they met their defense teacher, and the teacher seemed nice but a little odd. And the child is not aware yet of what odd means at Hogwarts, and you know what it means, and you do not write back to warn them, because warning them would not help. This is the cycle. This is what surviving Hogwarts gives you eventually. It gives you a kind of resignation. It gives you a deep, calm acceptance that this is how the world works, and that the wizarding world is not going to be modernized, and that you are going to send your child into the same school you went to, and the child will face many of the same dangers you faced, and many new ones, and the child will live or not live, and the child will be marked or not marked, and you will not be there. You wave at the train. You wave for a long time. The train turns the corner. The train is gone. You go home. There are a few moments from your 7 years that you have not allowed yourself to revisit in detail. They sit in the back of your memory, like furniture you have draped sheets over. You walk past them in your own mind, without lifting the sheets. The Halloween of your first year is one of them. A troll got into the castle, a full-grown mountain troll, 12 feet tall, smelling like a blocked drain, carrying a club the size of a small tree. Quirrell came running into the Great Hall during the feast, screaming about a troll in the dungeons. He fainted in front of the staff table. Dumbledore ordered the prefects to escort students back to dormitories. Then the students discovered that the dormitories were also not safe, because the troll had not stayed in the dungeons, and now it was on the first floor, where Hermione Granger was crying alone in a girl's bathroom because Ron had said something cruel about her at lunch. Harry and Ron ran to find her. They did not tell a teacher. They did not have time. They ran into the bathroom and found Hermione hiding under a sink while the troll swung its club at the porcelain. Ron levitated the club out of the troll's hand. The club fell back on the troll's head. The troll collapsed unconscious. The teachers arrived. Hermione lied, on the spot, to McGonagall, saying she had gone looking for the troll herself because she thought she could handle it. The lie covered Harry and Ron. The teachers were furious. They gave Hermione points off, gave Harry and Ron points for sheer dumb luck, and sent everyone to bed. You were in the Great Hall when Quirrell screamed about the troll. You went with your prefect back to the dormitory. You did not know that a troll had broken into a bathroom and nearly killed 3 classmates. You found out the next day. You walked past the first floor bathroom for the rest of your time at school, and you remembered. You wondered how a mountain troll got into the castle in the first place. The official position is that Quirrell let it in as a distraction to slip away and try to get past Fluffy on the 3rd floor. Quirrell was the defense teacher. The defense teacher let a troll into the castle to clear a corridor. There is no investigation of this. There is no review. There is no policy change. The next Halloween, the doors are not better guarded, and another teacher could do the same thing, and another teacher does, in a different year, with a different creature. The castle's defences have always been more impressive on paper than in practice. The weak misses. Norris was found petrified is another memory you keep behind a sheet. You walked into the corridor on the way to dinner, and the corridor was flooded with water 2 inches deep from a broken pipe in Myrtle's bathroom, and on the wall above the water, in foot-high letters, in something red, was the message about the chamber being opened. Mrs. Norris hung from a torch bracket. Her tail was knotted around the iron. Her body was rigid. Her eyes were open and unmoving. Filch was kneeling in the water, weeping, and stroking the cat's leg. He had had that cat for 20 years. He was 60-something years old. He had no family. He had the cat. He thought she was dead. You stood in the back of the crowd. You did not know what to say. McGonagall arrived. The crowd was dispersed. You went to dinner. You sat at the Gryffindor table and ate roast chicken and looked at the high table where Dumbledore was conferring with the heads of house, and you understood for the first time that the adults did not have a plan. They were going to figure it out as they went. They were going to make decisions in your interest, but the decisions might not work. The decisions might not be good ones. You were going to live with the consequences either way. It was a sobering meal. The chicken was good. Most students did not finish theirs. The corridor on the 7th floor, the one with the tapestry of Barnabas the Barmy trying to teach trolls ballet, is another memory you have folded away. There is, behind that tapestry, the entrance to the room of requirement. You did not know this for the first 3 years you were at the school. You walked past the tapestry hundreds of times. You wondered why someone had hung a painting of trolls doing ballet in a corridor. The painting was bad on purpose. Barnabas was a bad teacher of ballet. The trolls did not want to learn. The painting was unpleasant to look at. The painting hid the most useful room in the castle. The room of requirements, when summoned, appears as whatever the summoner needs. When Filch needs a place to store contraband, it appears as a vast warehouse with high ceilings full of confiscated items. When Harry needs a place to teach Dumbledore's army, it appears as a practice room with cushioned walls and dummies for hexing. When Draco needs a place to fix a vanishing cabinet, it appears as the room of hidden things, where centuries of students have stashed objects they wanted to lose, and the cabinet has been there since the 1890s, waiting for someone to fix it. You did not use the room. Most students did not use the room. The room was a feature you heard about, eventually, in your 5th year, when the resistance against Umbridge began meeting there. You wished briefly that you had known about the room earlier. You wished you had had a place to go in your 2nd year, when the basilisk was attacking students, and you did not feel safe in your dormitory. The room would have given you that place. The room was always there. The room was waiting. The room is, in some sense, still waiting for the next student who needs it. The fact that an entire room can be hidden from students for years tells you something about the architecture of trust at this school. The school does not tell you what is available to you. The school does not orient you. There is no manual. There is no map. There is technically the Marauder's map, but the Marauder's map exists in one copy, held by Harry, inherited from his father, and most students do not know it exists. The school has not made a map of itself. The school does not believe a map is necessary. The school believes you will learn the building by walking it, over 7 years, and by your 7th year you will know enough. Many students do not know enough. Many students graduate having never seen the kitchens, having never used the room of requirement, having never visited the prefect's bathroom, having never been in the headmaster's office, having never seen the trophy room except on the day of a sports victory, having never set foot in the south wing where the suit of armor with the bones stands. They graduate and the school is still, mostly a mystery to them. They went to school in a building they never fully understood. This is part of what the school does. The school keeps things from you. The school decides what you may know and what you may not. The decisions are made by Dumbledore while he is alive, on his own authority, based on what he thinks you can handle and what he thinks will be useful. After Dumbledore, the decisions are made by McGonagall, with more transparency, but with less power. The school's reluctance to be fully known is, in its own way, a defense. The students who know everything become dangerous. The students who know only what they need to know remain manageable. You were managed. That is one of the harder things to come to terms with after you graduate. You were managed. Your education was managed. Your perception of the school was managed. Your beliefs about magic were managed. You were not technically deceived, but you were not technically told the whole truth. You were given enough to function. The rest you had to figure out for yourself. Most students never figured it out. Most students went home each summer, believing the school was straightforward, and then came back believing the same thing, and graduated believing the same thing, and lived their adult lives in a society that was shaped by the school's secrets, without ever asking what those secrets had been. You are different, you ask. You have been asking since you graduated. You will be asking for the rest of your life. You do not know if this is an improvement. Now think about Minerva McGonagall. McGonagall is, by your 7th year, the woman who has held the school together. She is the head of Gryffindor House, the Transfiguration Professor, the Deputy Headmistress, and after Snape leaves to be headmaster under the Voldemort regime, she becomes the headmistress in her own right at the Battle of Hogwarts. She is in her 70s. She is tall, sharp, and tireless. She wears tartan. She drinks tea. She is by some distance the most competent adult in the building. She also makes mistakes. She is not perfect. She underestimated Umbridge in your 5th year and let things get worse than they had to. She underestimated Crouch Jr. in your 4th. She lost track of what was happening to her students more than once. She is human, in the sense that she has limits. The school is bigger than any one person. She does what she can. She does not do everything, but she is the one who, if you go to her with a problem, will actually help. She will listen. She will offer practical advice. She will intervene if intervention is needed. She will not always intervene, because she has political considerations, but when she can, she does. She gave Hermione a time turner in your 3rd year, on the grounds that Hermione had the academic discipline to use it responsibly. She gave Harry his father's broom in your 1st year, after he caught the Remembrall, on the grounds that the school's house Quidditch team needed a seeker, and Harry was the best candidate. She gave Neville the courage to stand up to his grandmother. She gave Susan Bones extra time on her Transfiguration practical, when Susan's hands were shaking from a recent Cruciatus. McGonagall is who you go to. McGonagall is one of the reasons you survive. There are not many like her. The school has at any given time perhaps 3 or 4 professors who are like her, who are competent and humane and willing to be useful. The other staff are some combination of distracted, eccentric, traumatized, or actively dangerous. The 4 good ones cover for everyone else, and over the 7 years of your attendance, they collectively spend hundreds of hours of unpaid emotional labor keeping the institution from collapsing. They do this because they love teaching, or they love the students, or because they have nowhere else to go. Professor Sprout is another. Sprout is the head of Hufflepuff. She is in her 60s, plump, rosy-cheeked, with dirt under her fingernails most days. She teaches herbology. She is gentle with 1st years. She is patient with students who are afraid of plants. She lets you sit in her greenhouse during your lunch break if you ask, when you need somewhere quiet. She is the one who organizes the recovery of the petrified students in your second year, growing the mandrakes from infants to maturity over the academic year, talking to them, feeding them, getting them through their adolescent phases. She is also the one who keeps the venomous tentacula alive in Greenhouse 3, because it has scientific value, and she has trained herself over decades not to be killed by it. The Fat Friar, the Hufflepuff ghost, is another. He is jovial, he laughs, he tells students stories about his life. He was in his living years a friar who was executed by the church for performing miracles that the bishop considered suspect. He has been a ghost for 500 years. He is one of the few ghosts who is genuinely glad to be a ghost. He helps lost first years find their classrooms. He breaks up scuffles between students in the corridor. He has, by some agreement with the Bloody Baron, jurisdiction over the lower levels of the castle, which means he is the one who comes to investigate when something strange happens in the dungeons that is not directly Slytherin business. He is also secretly the only ghost who tells jokes that are actually funny. He is, in the social hierarchy of ghosts, one of the kinder ones. These are the people who keep you alive. These are the people who keep the school working. There are perhaps 15 of them in total, including some portraits and ghosts, and they are the load-bearing humans of the institution. They cannot intervene in everything. They cannot save you from every threat, but they make the school survivable. You leave the school. You leave the school in a way that is final, although you do not know it at the time. You walk out the front gates with your trunk, after the funeral of Dumbledore, or after the battle, or after your newt, depending on the year, and you take the carriage down to Hogsmeade Station, and you board the Hogwarts Express going south, and you do not, in any meaningful sense, ever come back. You may come back as a parent, you may come back for an event, you may come back as a teacher, if you have it in you, and a few students do, every generation. But you do not come back as a student. The student you were stays in the building. The student you were is one of the many ghosts of the place. Although the ghost is metaphorical, the ghost is your own past, walking the corridors in your memory at all hours, with your 14-year-old voice, asking questions of your 16-year-old eyes. You miss it. This is the part that surprises you. You miss the cold dormitory, and the wet cloaks and the meals you ate sitting next to people who were your whole life for a few years. You miss the smell of the potions dungeon, which was foul, but which was the smell of having a place to go after lunch. You miss the way the candles in the Great Hall floated in the air without strings, and how on certain nights the candles would go a little dim, and you would look up at the enchanted ceiling and see the storm outside, and you would feel, even for a moment, that you were exactly where you were supposed to be. You miss the Morning Post. You miss your friends. You miss certain teachers. You miss the version of yourself who had not yet been hurt in all the ways you have been hurt since. You miss the moments sitting on the train going home for the holidays in your second year, when you looked out the window at the snow on the hills and you understood for the first time that you had a life now, a real life, with people in it, with places to be, with things to look forward to. You will, for the rest of your life, dream about Hogwarts. You will dream about the corridors. You will dream about the classes you have not prepared for. You will dream about the trapdoor on the 3rd floor. You will dream about the Forbidden Forest at night. You will dream about the boats on the lake. You will dream sometimes about the staircase moving while you are on it, and you will wake up with your heart pounding, and you will not know for a few minutes whether you are in your own bed or in your dormitory. Your spouse, if they did not go to Hogwarts, will not understand. Your spouse will ask why you cried out in your sleep. You will tell them sometimes what the dream was. You will tell them the staircase moved. They will not understand what that means. They will not understand that for you the staircase moving was a real and present danger, and that you spent 7 years in a building where that was an ordinary morning, and that some part of your nervous system has not let go of it. Your spouse will love you anyway. Your spouse will hold you. Your spouse will be patient. You will eventually calm down. You will go back to sleep. You will dream again. The dreams will not stop. They will not stop because they cannot stop. The school is in you. The school is part of how your body works now. The school will be in you when you are an old wizard, sitting by your own fire, watching your own grandchildren play with a toy broomstick on the rug. And you will, even then, dream about the moving staircase. And you will, even then, wake up listening for the footsteps that are not there. This is what going to Hogwarts costs you. It is not always visible. It is not always articulable. It is paid in installments over the course of your adult life, in dreams, in flinches, in moments of unexpected grief, in the way you cannot watch certain kinds of news without your stomach turning, in the way you cannot meet a young person without wanting to warn them about something, in the way you treat the smallest hazard in your own life as if it might be the start of something larger. You also got something out of it. You got friends, you got a wand and the skill to use it. You got memories that other people do not have. You got an understanding of the world that includes magic, and includes danger, and includes the existence of evil, and includes the possibility of meeting evil and surviving. You got a story. You got a story that you can tell if you find the right listener, and the story is worth telling. But when you account for everything, it is hard to say it was a good trade. It is also hard to say it was a bad one. The trade simply was. The trade was made on your behalf by parents who thought it was the right choice, by a school that wanted you, by a society that needed your magic. You will almost certainly make the same trade on behalf of your own children. You will not stop them. You will write the letter. You will pay for the books. You will pack the trunk. You will hug them at the platform. You will not say what you know. You will say instead that you are proud of them, and that you cannot wait to hear about their first week, and that Hogwarts is a wonderful place, and you will mean all of these things, and you will also be lying, and your child will know it, somehow, in the way children always know it, and your child will hug you back, and board the train, and the train will pull away, and you will stand there on the platform until it is out of sight, and you will go home, and you will sit in your kitchen, and you will wait for the owl. The owl will come. The owl will say that the child has been sorted. The owl will say that the child has made friends. The owl will say that the child has met a teacher who seems a little odd, and that classes have started, and that the food is good, and that the staircase moved while they were on it, but they jumped to the landing in time, and that everything is wonderful, and that they cannot wait to come home for Christmas. You will read the letter twice. You will fold it. You will put it in the drawer with the other letters. You will think about your own first week. You will think about the staircase that moved. You will write a letter back. You will tell the child to be careful on the staircases. You will not say more than that. You will not warn them about anything else, because warnings are not what survive what is coming. What survives is luck, and friends, and the slow accumulation of small skills, and the things they will learn for themselves over the 7 years ahead. You will not be there. That is the worst part. You will not be there. You finish the letter. You give it to your owl. The owl takes off. You watch the owl until it is a black speck against the autumn sky, and you watch a little longer until the speck is gone, and you stand at the kitchen window with your hand on the sill, and you do not know if you are remembering your child, or your child's first letter, or your own first letter, or your own first time leaving home. And you cannot tell which of the memories belongs to which year, because the school is in you, and the cycle is in you, and the years are not separate anymore. The years are one long autumn afternoon of a parent at a window watching an owl, and being 11 on a train, and being 17 on a battlefield, and being 30 on a station platform, and being 70 by the kitchen fire, all at once. This is what Hogwarts gives you in the end. This is what surviving Hogwarts gives you. It does not give you safety. It does not give you peace. It gives you a long layered life of memory, in which the past is never quite past, in which the school continues to live inside you no matter how many years you have been away, in which a part of you is always 11 and stepping off the boat on a wet September night, and a part of you is always 17 and ducking spells in the entrance hall, and a part of you is always 30 and standing at a window with an empty cup of tea cooling on the counter. You would not have survived your first year at Hogwarts by any reasonable measure of what survival means. The wall could have killed you. The lake could have killed you. The staircase could have killed you. The troll could have killed you. The forbidden corridor could have killed you. The forest could have killed you. The basilisk could have killed you. The Dementor on the train could have killed you. Snape's potions class could have killed you. The Whomping Willow could have killed you. Hagrid's pet of the season could have killed you. Quirrell's possession could have spilled out into your wing of the dormitory. Voldemort's wraith form could have brushed your cheek in the dark. The bludger could have caught you on the head during a match you were watching from the stands. The Forbidden Forest detention could have ended differently. The bathroom on the second floor could have caught you alone when the basilisk was hungry. The Triwizard Cup could have, if you had been the wrong age and the wrong height and standing in the wrong corner of the maze, taken you to a graveyard with Voldemort. The Carrows could have used you for practice. The Death Eaters in the battle could have ended you in a corridor with a single curse. The falling stone from the broken astronomy tower could have come down on the night you were sleeping below it. None of these things happened to you. They happened to other students. They happened to dozens of other students. The school is full of dead students, in the past, in the records, in the small marble plaques in the entrance hall that you walk past every day for 7 years without ever stopping to read them. The plaques have names. The names have dates. The dates are recent enough that, when you slow down and read them, you realize the boy whose name is on the third plaque from the left was born the same year as your older brother. You did not die. You did not die because of luck and friends and the 4 or 5 teachers who were good and the older students who looked out for you and the prefect who walked you back to your dormitory the night of the troll and the matron who treated your bones one Sunday morning and the friend who pulled you out of the way of the whomping willow on a windy afternoon in October. You did not die because the school, for all its flaws, did not on the specific days when you were vulnerable, fail you completely. You came close. You came close many times. You will, when you are older, count the times you came close, and the count will surprise you. You will realize, in your 40s, that you should not be alive. You will realize that the school had no real plan for your survival. You will realize that the survival was contingent. You will realize that other versions of you, in other rooms of the same building, in other seats in the same classrooms, did not make it. The school filed paperwork on them. The school sent letters to their parents. The school held memorials in the entrance hall on certain mornings, and the survivors stood with their hands behind their backs, and the headmaster spoke, and afterward the school went on as it had always gone on, because the school had always gone on, and the school always would. You went to a school where you might not survive. You did. You are alive. You are sitting at a kitchen window watching an owl carry a letter you wrote, with your hands that still ache sometimes in cold weather, where the scar from your 5th year refuses to fade, and you are sending your own child into the same school, and you do not know if this is right, but you know it is what is done. The wizarding world has always done this. The wizarding world will continue to do this. The statute of secrecy keeps you separate from the Muggle world, in which children are taught in buildings with smoke detectors and fire drills and trained staff. The statute of secrecy keeps you in a parallel society where children are taught in a 1,000-year-old castle with sentient staircases and unkillable poltergeists and a forest full of monsters in the backyard. The statute of secrecy is unlikely to be repealed. The wizarding world is unlikely to modernize. The school is unlikely to change. Your child will go. Your child's children will go. The Hogwarts Express will continue to pull out of King's Cross every September the 1st at exactly 11 in the morning, carrying 11-year-olds north into the Highlands. The Sorting Hat will sing them a song. The 4 houses will receive them. The professors will teach them what they teach. The corridors will move under their feet. The forest will press up against the edges of the grounds. The lake will hold its weight of cold, dark water, and whatever lives in it, the students will, in roughly the same proportions as in your year, survive or not. They will, in roughly the same proportions, be marked or not. They will, in roughly the same proportions, learn something. They will, in roughly the same proportions, dream about the school for the rest of their lives. You stand at the window. The owl is long gone. The cup of tea is cold. You go to the cupboard. You pour yourself a fresh cup. You sit down at the table. You think about getting on with the day. You do not get on with the day. Not yet. You sit at the table with the warm cup in your hands. You think about the corridor on the 3rd floor on the right-hand side. You think about the night the troll was in the dungeons. You think about the cat with her tail tied to the bracket. You think about your friend who took the Cruciatus in your 7th year and developed the tremor that never went away. You think about the older students who looked out for you. You think about the song the merpeople sang at Dumbledore's funeral, the song you could only hear when the breeze was right. You sit at the table and you finish your tea, and the cup empties slowly, and the morning passes, and your child is at Hogwarts, and your child is at Hogwarts, and you are here, and your child is at Hogwarts, and there is nothing you can do about it now, and there has never been anything you could do about it, and you knew this when you boarded the train at 11, and you know it now, and you knew it when you signed the letter giving permission for the trip. You knew, you have always known. The school is what it is. The school will be what it is. You went, and you came back, and others did not. And now your child is gone, and you wait for the owl. The owl will come. The next one will be in a few days. The owl will say that the child is well, or the owl will say nothing, and the silence will mean something, but the silence will probably mean only that the child is busy and forgot to write. You will hold the next letter, and you will know whether your child is safe, for now, in this week, and you will exhale, and you will fold the letter, and you will put it in the drawer. The drawer is filling up. The drawer is in fact mostly full. There are letters in the drawer going back 20 years. Your own letters to your parents, your parents' letters to you, your spouse's letters from when they were at school, if they went, your child's first letters, the condolence letters from after Cedric, the condolence letters from after Fred, the letter from McGonagall in your 7th year, which still has not faded, the letter you wrote to the family of a friend you lost, the letter you never sent. You did not send some of the letters. You should have. You did not. You can still send some of them. You probably will not. The years pass and the letters stay in the drawer, and the drawer becomes the record of everything you did not say, and you know it, and you keep the drawer anyway, because the drawer is yours, and the things in the drawer are yours, and you are not ready to lose them by sending them or by throwing them away. This is what surviving a wizarding education looks like after 30 years. It does not look like power. It does not look like triumph. It looks like a kitchen in autumn with a drawer full of letters and a window with a view of the garden and a child at a school where the staircases still move and the corridors still echo and the forest still presses up against the lawn at night. It looks like a person sitting at a table with a cup of tea, a person who survived something that should have killed them, a person who, if you sat down across from them and asked, would not be able to tell you exactly what they survived, because what they survived was not one thing but 7 years of small things, accumulated, each one small enough to seem manageable in the moment, each one combining with the others into a weight you only feel later, when you are older, and the house is quiet, and the child is at school, and you have nothing to do but sit at the table and remember. You sit at the table and you remember. The owl will come back tomorrow. The child will be safe tomorrow. The school will be standing tomorrow. The staircases will keep moving. The forest will keep pressing. The lake will keep its cold counsel. You drink your tea. You set the cup down. You stand up from the table. You go to the window again. The garden is full of late roses. The afternoon light is on them. Somewhere, in a tower in the Scottish Highlands, your child is sitting in a class learning to turn a teacup into a tortoise, and the teacup is wobbling, and the tortoise is half a teacup, and the professor is walking over with patience, and your child is laughing, and your child is alive, and your child has been at the school now for 3 weeks, and the staircase moved twice this morning, and your child jumped to the landing in time, and the professor is helping with the teacup, and the day is, by all reports, a good one. You stand at the window. You stand at the window for a long time. The roses do not change. The light moves slowly across the lawn. The afternoon goes on without you. You stand at the window. You wait for the next owl. You go on with the day. You take the empty cup to the sink. You rinse it. You set it on the rack. You dry your hands on the towel by the window. The afternoon is moving. The garden is still in full sun. The roses, you notice, are at the end of their season. The petals are loose on the stems. The yellow ones have started to drop. There will be one more flush of blooms in a few days, if the weather holds, and then the cold will come, and the bushes will go bare for the winter, and you will prune them in the spring, and they will bloom again next summer, and your child will be home for the holidays in between. You think about the holidays. You think about Christmas, when the train comes back south, and the child gets off at King's Cross, and you are waiting on the platform with your spouse, and the child runs through the crowd, and you fold the child into your arms, and the child smells like the school. The child will smell like wax candles, and old stone, and the smoke of the common room fire, and a little bit of the dungeons. The child will not know the smell is there. The child will only know it when they unpack at home, and they take out a robe, and the robe smells of school, and they hold it to their face for a moment, and they put it in the laundry. You will smell the robe. You will know what the smell is. You will not say anything. Your child will eat at your table. Your child will tell you stories. Your child will not tell you everything. There will be things the child keeps. There will be a friend the child does not yet have words for. There will be a teacher the child has not yet decided how to feel about. There will be a corridor the child has started to avoid, and the child has not told anyone, including you, why. The child is becoming a wizard. The child is becoming a person. The child is taking on the long, layered life of memory that the school gives. You will not press. You will not interrogate. You will instead ask easy questions. How was Charms? Was the food good? Did you see the snow on the grounds? The child will answer. The child will leave certain things out. You will not push. You will instead leave the door open. You will say, when the child is going to bed, that you are glad they are home. You will mean it. You will turn out the light. You will close the door. You will go to your own bed. You will lie down. You will not sleep right away. You will think about the school. You will think about the smell of the robes. You will think about the years ahead, the years your child still has to spend in the castle. You will think about the years your child has already spent. You will think about the moving staircases and the forest at the edge of the grounds, and the cold corridor on the 7th floor, and the warm fire in the common room. You will think about the friend who will, in a few years, take the cruciatus for your child in a corridor, and your child will be there when it happens, and your child will not be the same after. You do not know this yet. You only know it is possible. You know it is possible because it was possible for you. You know what it costs to survive what is possible. You wish, briefly, that your child would not have to know what you know. You also wish, less openly, that your child will. You want your child to be a wizard. You want your child to have a wand. You want your child to be able to make a Patronus. You roll over, you close your eyes, you sleep. You dream about the staircase. The staircase is moving. You are on it. You are 11. You jump for the landing. You make it. You wake up. It is morning. There is no owl on the sill. There will be one later. You get out of bed. You put on your slippers. You go downstairs. You put the kettle on. You stand at the window. The garden is in early light. The roses are still mostly there. The first owl of the day, a small brown one, carrying a piece of post for your neighbor, flies overhead and is gone. You wait. The kettle whistles. You make tea. You sit down. You go on.